All right, everybody, welcome into the Rant. I am Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here on a beautiful Monday afternoon. When I say beautiful, let me see what it is. I was just outside, and it was pretty beautiful. Here on the south side of Chicago today, we are looking at, no, really? It says it's only 60 degrees. I don't know, whatever. I was just out there, but I'm wearing a little bit of a jacket, so it was sunny. That's okay. That's good. Apparently, this is my jam. Apparently, this is what I like because too hot, very cranky. Too cold, nobody wants that. Around 60. I think 60 with blue sky. You know what we got? We got Simpsons clouds. You know, like at the beginning of The Simpsons, where it's sort of that idealistic blue sky with big, puffy, beautiful clouds making different shapes. That's what we got. And it's 60. So, you know, it's not too hot, not too cold. Could probably be a little warmer. All right, let's go 75. What do they say? The temperature in heaven or the weather in heaven? 78 and partly sunny, right? Isn't that what it is? 78 and partly sunny, the temperature in heaven? I don't know. I'm a little bit ramped up. I've had a lot more coffee this morning than I typically do. I am still battling, probably because it's still only 60 degrees, still battling my sinuses and whatever this is that I get. Every time the weather refuses to change into the next season, I get this. So excuse me, but we're here anyway because we love to do this every day. Talk for normal people, working class, nonpartisan, non-BS talk. That's what we do here every day at roundabout noon, radiomisfits.com. Guys, radiomisfits.com, a new one's dropping Thursday. We've made James Parker put together this really cool multi-part series on Who Killed Live 105.3, a conversation about the station that Kelly and I and many of you know us from, station in Dallas. It just suddenly went off the air, and there's a big mystery surrounding why. And we try and uncover that in a new multi-part series created by James Parker exclusively on radiomisfits.com. It is Who Killed Live 105.3. Find it on all your favorite streaming platforms. New episodes drop every Thursday, so hopefully you're checking that out. Mother's Day was yesterday. Couple of notes on Mother's Day. It was an exceptional Mother's Day around my place. My mom got out of the hospital. That's right, last week. Thank you for all the kind energy that y'all put out there for us, whether that come in the form of prayers or lighting candles or I don't know, man, sacrificing it. No, don't sacrifice anything. Don't sacrifice. Whatever it was, thank you all very much for the good thoughts. Mom came home on Saturday, which was not optimal. We had hoped it was going to be Friday. If you remember when I was leaving the show here. Friday, did I know? I don't even know. It's such a blur. But we got her home on Saturday. It was a beautiful day on Saturday. We got her on the back deck. She loves her back deck. She's just surrounded by animals and stuff. Got her out there on Friday. She's battling an allergy infection. She has seasonal allergies. And because she's, dealing with other issues, her allergies this year are so bad. So she had a little bit of trouble. She had to go into the hospital and they had to make sure that she was getting all the breath she needed. And now she came home. She came home Saturday. I think she had a nice day Saturday. I made my famous white chicken enchiladas. That's right. Go to my, what's that place? Go to my Pinterest for the recipe. I don't have a Pinterest. Don't waste your time. I don't have a Pinterest. So mom came home. She was home for Mother's Day. That was really good. It was quiet. It was very low key, but everybody was accounted for and we all had fun. We were going to have Chinese food. I told you about that. We were going to have Chinese food. And, God love my mom, raised me to be a good person because she herself led by example as a good person. My mom, is now, how do we say this? Well, you know how much difficulty I have with like a lot of the weird things that are suddenly normal here in America, right? Like, for the first time ever, I got to consider the idea that some people, are classified in a third gender kind of, that's not normal for me. That's not where I come from. Whatever. everybody on TV, every commercial. I was thinking about this the other day. Everybody on. All right, never mind. We won't go there. My point is this: if I'm having a difficult there's a lot of interracial marriage in TV commercials. And I think that the representation of interracial marriage in TV commercials far outkicks the actual representation of interracial marriage in regular society. But I'm not really commenting on that. I'm just observing that. So, you leave the commentary on that to like your Nick Fuentes's or whoever. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is I notice things. And this is not anybody complaining about seeing interracial marriage. I'm just saying the advertising world, when they started to do it to represent what was happening in normal society, I think now they're just overboard. I just think now it's like, I don't know, like maybe 1 in 10, right? In real life, like maybe 1 in 10 couples are a white person with a black person. And that's the kind of interracial marriage I'm talking about. Maybe 1 in 10, maybe more. Maybe I'm out of date. I don't know. But in TV commercials, it's like 50%. It's like every couple is. All right. And that's fine. I am not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just observing society. So the point is this, how much I struggle with it. So, my mom, she'd never been to Panda Express. And you have no idea how much anxiety I put myself through on this. She was craving Chinese food. So the deal was, we're going to get her some Chinese food. And I love Panda Express. I do. Now, I grew up with real Chinese food. They stopped having real Chinese food. This is what we're learning. When I was growing up, every corner had like a pizza place and a Chinese place across the street. And there was all kinds of really great neighborhood Chinese foods. Now, here we are in 2026, and all those really great neighborhood Chinese foods, they're all gone. And it's just like Panda Express or like, some other like minor regional chain Chinese food, China buffet. No. But it's not all for naught, because Panda Express, I think, is actually pretty good. I actually like Panda Express. So, anyway, instead of trying some Chinese food place that I've never been to or whatever, because I don't like the free ball Chinese restaurants. I like to know, what I'm getting, which is probably why Panda Express thrives. Because I think a lot of people feel that way I think a lot of people saw Men in Black, right? In that Chinese food restaurant scene, and it freaked a lot of us out. So maybe Men in Black killed all the mom and pop Chinese restaurants. Maybe. I certainly believe that's why Panda Express thrives. See, they make all the food in front of you. You get to see it. There's no back room where you're hearing like animals being butchered. Weird animal calls you've never heard before. Or fish or whatever. Anyway, Panda Express. So my concern was this. Panda Express. See, if you grew up eating Chinese food when I grew up eating Chinese food, you grew up eating chop suey and egg rolls. That's pretty much like, the staple of eating Chinese food. Chop suey apparently is not popular. Like Panda Express doesn't even offer chop suey, because there are some people who believe it's, kind of like racist, chop suey, it's not an actual meal in China. Like you can't go to Beijing and go, give me a plate of chop suey. They'll be like, what? It's just something American people called this form of Chinese food that became popular in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, Chinese food. So my mom wants chop suey and I like chop suey. Now I know how to replicate chop suey at Panda Express. It's just, you get rice and then you get the beef and broccoli over it. And then you get the vegetables over that. And that's chop suey. And it's really good. But it's called different things. And my mom just got out of the hospital and I was going to have to pull up the Panda Express menu. And we were going to have to, she's having difficulty talking and we're having difficulty hearing her because she's having difficulty talking. So she's yelling. And then I think she's yelling at me. And then I get upset. And then she gets upset because she understands the miscommunication. Oh my God. Panda Express was about to be a volcanic fight. I wasn't having any of it. So we, not me. I got the call about 2:00 in the afternoon from a different room in the house. Hey, we're not doing Chinese tonight. And, that came from Mom. And it's Mother's Day. So I'm like, all right, no worries. No worries. So we ate leftover white chicken enchiladas from Saturday night, which were fantastic. But we had a great Mother's Day. And it was great to have Mom home because I hate when she's in the hospital. That sucks because, all you do is worry about people, And I'm not talking about your friends. Like, with all due respect, my friend goes into the hospital. I'm going to visit him. I'm going to feel bad right about until I get into the car. And then, it's back to normal life because friends are friends and we move on. But man, when it's your mom or it's your dad or it's your kid, right? You don't leave that. You don't just leave that. You're like constantly. Ugh. So having them home is always better. And the thing about when they come home is that you have the added reassurance that people who theoretically know what they're doing, the doctors and staff and nurses, have said, yeah, she's fine. She can go home. So that's good. So she came home and she's moving around and she's getting her wind back and she's getting her energy back and everything is good. Now, part 2 of what makes today special. Today's my kid's birthday. It's my kid's birthday. Hey. I'm not with him. I didn't lie. I miss him terrible, but he's coming here. He's coming here for the summer, and he all he wants is just to get here, right? He's like, he doesn't have football anymore. We covered this the last couple of weeks. My son has retired from football. He has faced the reality that his size at this level is a hindrance, and he plays center, right? And he's now a senior in Texas high school football. And every other center on every other team is 6'1" and at least 280 pounds. And he's 6 foot and 230 pounds. And I was just not going to make it at this level. And he realized that. So a very difficult life change. He doesn't know how to define himself. He just wants change. He wants to come to Chicago for the summer. He doesn't have to leave now for football practice and all of that. And so he's that's kind of where his head is. But it's his birthday today, and he's got a couple more weeks of school, and then we'll address, what happens next. He's working his ass off at In-N-Out Burger. He's such a good kid. I mean, he's not a good kid. Don't get me wrong. I'm his dad. I know the kind of shady business that he's, he's a little con man. He's a little, what can I get out of this interaction? That's kind of, but he's nice and he's a good kid and he's good to people outside. Like I said, he's either going to be president of the United States or a convicted bank robber, something like that, because he's got ideas. Anyway, it's his birthday and I'm not with him, and that sucks, and I miss him. And a lot of you can probably, we'll have a nice little, we'll talk today. We'll talk a couple of times today. We'll get him on the phone with Grandma. He didn't know Grandma was in the hospital. Yeah, I didn't tell him. Just let me disseminate my family information to other members of my family the way I want, okay? I'm trying to manage a volatile situation, and I myself am also not always wanting to just rehash everything with more people. So just give, when people are sick, when your loved ones are sick, it's, there are responsibilities that you have to step up and you have to do no matter what. I mean, it's not a choice. It's like, but it is exhausting. So point is this: it's my kid's birthday. Mom is home. Mom is on the mend. Mom is doing good. Everything is looking like bright skies and happiness. Let's have a good summer, everybody. What do you say? That's where my head is at. I need a job, though. I need a job desperately. I swear to God, we got to start making some money, because now I got a kid. We got to know where to put him. We look, we're a family that we got a place for him. We'll figure out a place for him. Like, you better have a place for him. You're his father. We'll see. Hey, the Fonz slept in a garage. He was pretty cool. That's my line. The Fonz slept in the garage. He was pretty cool. All right, so there we have it. Come on. Welcome to the show. Let's say hi to the chat room. Let's make sure. I know a bit of a long intro today, But it's been a crazy weekend, and quite frankly, I don't have a whole lot of stuff prepped. I've got a good show prepped for you. We're going to have Maddie. She's going to be on. She's going to bring some fire and brimstone. But most of the stuff that I'll be giving you, I'll give you the headlines. We'll go over the headlines in the beginning of the show. But then we're going to get into a whole bunch of fun stuff. Like, for instance, Town and Country. That's like a fancy magazine. Like, you've heard of it, but you've probably never seen it because it's one of the magazines that's like, I don't know. It's targeting like people who can afford stupid interior designs and stuff like that. Anyway, Town and Country, the magazine targeted to sophisticated people, have put out a list of the best 80s movies. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, Pugs, you can go on Ranker. You can go anywhere and find it. No, but this one is interesting because these people are snooty. So isn't it interesting to see what the snooty people think are the best films in the 1980s? We'll go through that. I love my pop culture stuff. Also, street takeovers. I want to talk about these street takeovers because they are happening. I can hear them. I live, you know what a street takeover is? It's when all these kids get together with their hot little souped up cars and they, do their, their little circles and they all gather around and I don't know if they're drag racing so much as just doing donuts, but it's happening everywhere. Where I live adjacent to a fairly expansive wetland preserve. That is like the back of where I live, right? But on the other side of the preserve is a road that runs right through it. And they do drag racing and they do Central Avenue. And they do drag racing and they do, versions of street takeovers. And I can hear them because that noise carries across the lake and across the water. And I can hear it going on Saturday nights and Friday nights. It's a big thing. They do it in the middle of downtown Chicago. They do it in the middle of downtown Dallas. They do it in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. It is absolute anarchy. And I want to talk about this because there are a couple of interesting aspects. Like, for one thing, I look at that and I go, good for the young people. Look at them putting their screens down to get together. Now, we used to go to house parties and we dance and, meet girls and stuff. They're just standing around and, oh, what are they doing? Oh, they got their cameras. Oh, they're all filming this. Oh, geez. So they're actually not being social. They're just, anyway, I've got thoughts on the whole street takeover culture and what this means for greater society. What else? And anyway, we got a bunch of stuff we'll get into. Let me do the chat room because we like to award, a podium, just like an F1. First place, second place, third place. Here's today's podium. We've got Barney in first place, April in second place, Tarunda in third. That's our podium. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you so much. We have no executive producer today because last week's pledge week was a failure, but mostly because I had to take Wednesday off because of the events of Wednesday. So we are continuing pledge week. We are it's that time. Now we're late again. Now we're doing it the week when I was trying to avoid to do it this week because I was hoping, but life happens. Life gets in the way and we move forward. This show has existed every day for 5 years because you people have stepped up. And I appreciate that, but we need you to step up now. So this is the week. We need to raise at least $40 a show. Is that it? Like 200? And on Friday it was 150. On Friday, it was 150, but we didn't get to pay our bills on Friday. So then we had new bills that come in over the weekend, like gas and food for the week. And, so it's up to 200 again this week. So appreciate it. Anything you can do to help us out, but that's where we stand. And you guys are appreciated. Okay, so let's see. Who else do we have in the chat room? Hold on. To all the moms in the chat room, most notably, I guess I would think of April 1st. I hope you had a great Mama's Day. Adam is in the chat room. Hi, Adam. Mikey D's in the chat room. Fast is here as well. We've got a small little crowd today on a Monday. Come on, people. Peter's here. Of course, Peter's here. Love to see that. Barney says street takeover sounds a lot like what we used to call Friday night. Yeah, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, back in 1988, 1990, 1989, in that area that I wasn't doing all kinds of things that could, by today's lens, be categorized as, they're going to straight takeover. I mean, we've done stuff like that. Maybe not a straight takeover. I think that's kind of the brazen nature that we're all being struck by of this current trend. We took over parking lots. Like, the police would have to come through and clear us out of White Castle because there'd be 60 teenagers hanging out in the parking lot of White Castle on a Friday or Saturday night. And also, here's another thing. Is alcohol involved with these kids? Like, because I can tell you that if back in 1990, if we were doing anything like this, somebody had a keg in their trunk and somebody else was selling cups for $5, right? I don't think that's happening. I don't think they're doing that. I think they're honestly just going outside for content, Barney. I think that's what this is. This is just another way to get content. They're out there with their phones, but we'll talk about it. Mikey D says the teen takeovers in Atlanta are getting more and more violent. 3-shot, 2 dead at mixed use at Atlanta. Well, yeah, that's a combination of a bunch of things. We're just a more violent society now. We've normalized the idea of, flashing a gun instead of throwing hands. And, that's been a slow creep, but that's been happening in this country since, I don't know, we made Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood stars. So gunplay is heroic. At least that's what we're led to believe. Peter out here showing some love for the boy. Happy birthday, Mason. He's gonna be mad. He ain't because I'm not there. He's not getting any presents. And last week was so messed up. I didn't even think to send him anything. And so he'll get stuff when he gets here. He's gonna have a second birthday. He's 17. I'm going to start out with, you're 17 years old now. You're going to have to handle disappointment. That'll be the first thing I say to him today. And the disappointment is there will be no presents for you today. However, you will be here and all of these people owe you presents. So that's good. Mikey D also says happy birthday. Thank you. Mikey D says they use social media, and next thing you know, there's 1,000 of them. I agree with you, Mike. Mike just did something here that I do all the time. And I thought it was because the Y button on my keypad didn't work that well, but Mike does it too. Is this common? When we mean to type they, They, do we all, like, oftentimes, I'd say a good 50% of the time, I forget the Y. And then I have to go back and read it. And I'm like, I meant they. I thought it was just a me thing, but Mike just did it, I think. I think Mike here intended to say they use social media. And next thing you know, there's 1,000 of them. But he printed that. Kind of a silly thing to have to talk about. All right. Let's see. What did I do this weekend? Did I do anything this weekend? I watched a lot of baseball this weekend. That's fun. Baseball was good. My White Sox won the series against the Angels. That was fun. That was good. We needed to win this series. Let's see. What else did I do? You know what? I started to rewatch. I don't know how this happened. How did this happen? I started to rewatch Game of Thrones. Oh my God. And by the way, there's a couple of new things that were on this weekend on Netflix and on Hulu. There's some movie with Rachel McAdams where she's like stranded on a desert island. It looks really good. I don't know what that's on. I think that's on maybe Netflix or Prime, maybe Hulu. I don't know. That's the thing. Some kind of daily content that lets people know where everything is, what platform this movie is on, because there is no TV guide anymore and it's way too scattered. The first person who figures out how to accurately deliver daily viewing information, and that's a show. I just can't figure out how to do it. How do you replace the TV guide or the scroll on the cable system now that everything is on, different platforms? And we keep hearing, because they promote all of these things, these big new shows and these movies, but we never remember what platform it's on. That's the thing. All right, let's see here. What else did I watch? Anything? Did you guys watch anything? Is there anything you guys are watching? I mean, I'm back in the Game of Thrones, not because there's nothing to watch, but just because for some reason I got stuck back into it. And my God, by the way, I started Game of Thrones in season 2. I didn't watch season 1. Here's why I didn't watch season 1, because every other time I've restarted Game of Thrones, I've started with season 1 and then abandoned it. Like, I've had restarts. So I feel like I keep watching season 1 over and over and then never get to season. So I started at season 2, being very familiar with season 1. And now I'm on season 3. That's how gripping that series is, even the 4th time through. Nah, truthfully, this is my 3rd time through. This will be the 3rd time watching. Anything else? I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Is that what it's called? There you go. Send Help, Rachel McAdams. It's on Hulu. See? Hulu, she said. All right, Mikey D, binge watching Southland again. I have never seen Southland. I've heard it's great. So maybe instead of me rewatching Game of Thrones for the 3rd or 4th time through, whatever it is, maybe I should try something new. But this is something that I am dealing with. And I think it's my age. I think it's because of my age. I don't find new things good anymore. I struggle to find new good things. I'll watch something new that everybody's talking about, and I'll watch like 1 or 2 episodes and then be like, eh. And then I'll go back to watching The Sopranos, Battlestar Galactica, and Game of Thrones, or Peaky Blinders, or The Wire, or Better Call Saul. I have these ones on rotation that I keep going back to, and I think it's again because of my age. I think I'm forgetting a lot. I think that every time I watch it, it's like I'm watching it new again. So that's something. I don't know. Southland. I hear it's good. Mike says it's on Netflix now. Let's see here. What is Peter talking about? Is Peter? Hold on. I got to go back and catch up in the conversation. It's just so hard to navigate this chat room. Oh, okay. Peter is talking about the roast of Kevin Hart. This is, I guess, also a Netflix thing. I didn't see it. I've seen a lot of clips from it. I got to tell you, it didn't look awful. I mean, I was debating today whether or not to show some clips from it. But I decided that I hadn't seen it yet. So I should go home and I should watch it tonight. And then maybe tomorrow we could talk about it and play some clips. But awful. Okay. Because again, I've only seen a couple of clips, and the clips that I saw made me think that I might want to go home and watch it tonight. I don't know. April with a contradicting view. She says she liked it. I think she's talking about that. She might be talking about Mother's Day. Peter says, there were a couple of good comics and jokes, but overall I was bored. Really? Okay. All right. That's interesting. Anybody else watch the Kevin Hart roast that wants to chime in? Because right now we've got a tie. We've got April saying that she liked it, and Peter saying it was awful. Hyperbolic Peter. It was awful. And then April's like, I liked it. And now Peter's like, some of it was okay. Well, if some of it was okay, then it can't be awful. Peter says, I might be too old for insult comedy. Yeah, that might be it. We do change. I'm not. I love the roast format, like understanding what the format is. It's completely different. The jokes are supposed to be cringy. The jokes are supposed to be awful. I don't know. I've always enjoyed it. I even enjoyed that Kevin Hart Funny AF Marshawn Lynch roast that they did last week that they posted, or at least I watched it last week. So I don't know. I think I might still go home and see it. Leslie C is here. Hi, Leslie. Welcome back in. Good to see Leslie. One of our fine supporters. Be like Leslie. Peter was disappointed. Peter, why were you disappointed? That's what I'd like to know. Like, what was your expectation that weren't met? So, because I mean, it looked like a pretty good cast of people. Chelsea Handler is certainly been arisen from the dead. Apparently, something occurred with Chelsea Handler on this roast, and I've seen the clips of that, which is why I wanted to see the whole thing in context. But something happened with Chelsea Handler, and people are posting, this is going to ruin her career. And I'm like, I ain't heard of Chelsea Handler in 10 years. What do you mean? When they rolled Chelsea Handler out for Kevin Hart's Funny AF competition, which is on Netflix, and I started watching about 2 weeks ago, when they rolled her out for that, I was like, oh, look at her. I ain't seen her in years. I mean, it's not like Chelsea Handler is an A-lister right now. She's not. She burned white hot for about 10 years in the early 2000s. She made a whole bunch of money, and now she's a famous older woman who, she didn't move into movies. She's not like a leading lady. She's Chelsea Handler. She married a very wealthy man who ran Netflix. Was it Netflix or HBO that her husband ran? I don't know. He was running Comedy Central when she got her big break. But she's very funny. I think Chelsea Handler's funny, but let's not pretend like whatever occurred with her at this roast is going to, ruin her career, because she hasn't really been around. Now, what was revealed? Well, Shane Gillis, who I think is one of the best comics working in America right now, Shane Gillis got up and basically just told a story about how Chelsea Handler went to dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, which I had never heard about. It's all true. I mean, it is true. And he just got up at the roast and he started talking about her going to dinner, which anyway is very interesting. I don't want to, again, give it all away. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to play any clips or get into this today, because I haven't seen it. I want to watch it in context. But Chelsea Handler is trending because of the situation. Whatever happened there. Whatever happened with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see here. Peter says he loved the Marshawn Lynch roast. I asked Peter what exactly was his expectation for the Kevin Hart roast. He said, I think I wanted to see some of the younger comedians that were on Kevin Hart Funny AF. I really am not a Kevin Hart fan, to each his own. I am not a fan of Kevin Hart's. Here's how I feel. This is what I feel about Kevin Hart. I don't think he's a particularly gifted comedian. I don't think his stand-up is at the level of, any number of other stand-ups who are working today. He's not as good as he's not as good as Sebastian. He's not as good as Chappelle. He's not as good as who's that guy? The nice guy that everybody likes. He's got a funny name. People mispronounce his last name. He's like from Nashville or something, but anyway, whatever. That guy, he's good. Kevin Hart's a big movie star, but as far as being a stand-up, I don't consider him. And as far as his movie goes, I've never seen a Kevin Hart movie. Never. Can you believe that? Never seen every Kevin Hart movie looks stupid. It looks like a dumb movie. Looks like a movie that's made for people who are just looking to waste 2 hours of a movie and be moderately entertained. I don't see those movies. Again, I'm busy rewatching The Sopranos. Nate Bargatze, he says, Nate Bargatze, that's who it is. Peter offers John Mulaney. Oh my God, Kevin Hart's nowhere near John Mulaney. John Mulaney's incredible. But he's a popular actor in dumb movies. So that's movies that I've never seen. Stand-up comedy that I've seen enough of to go, that's pretty pedestrian. But he brings the energy. So those are my thoughts on Kevin Hart in that way. Kevin Hart as a dude seems like so awesome. He seems like just such a deserving guy. And when you see the level of success that he has, and then you see the way he carries himself and the way he treats people, I'm like, yeah, man, Kevin Hart, good for you, dude. Your comedy and all that shit, your movies, they don't have to appeal to me, but I can appreciate someone who is obviously a good dude. That's how I feel about Kevin Hart. What did we say his name wrong? Of course we did. Nate Bargatze. Nate Bargatze. Nate Bargatze. Who cares? Whatever. He's funny as hell. What's up here? Pete, what is this? Phonetic? Bargatze. I don't know. Whatever. All right, let's get into today's news because we got to talk to Maddie here, and we've got a whole bunch of other fun stuff we're going to do. First and foremost, when we left last week, President Trump had offered Iran a one-page memo. It was basically he just copy and pasted the Obama-Iran deal, and he sent it to the Iranians, and that's where we left off. Oh, and he was celebrated by the right Twitter and all that. Drug drop, ceasefire, followed by a deal. Yeah, no deal. Iran says go kick rocks. Iran is arguing that America has never held up their end of the so-called ceasefire. Because Iran says that blockading Iranian ports is an act of war and therefore a very obvious violation of any ceasefire. America says, nope, that wasn't part of it. So here we are. That's what happened. Trump's all mad. Trump's talking crap again. And he does not want war. He wants this over. And he got himself into a situation where now they are forcing him to back away and look foolish. He wants a big decisive victory. He wants something papered up. He wants pictures of him and whoever signing in a court. That's what he wants, and he can't get there because he stirred up a hornet's nest of people who don't play by the same New York boardroom rules that Trump thinks the world plays by. That's what's happening here. So gas prices are going to continue to skyrocket. Do you know that I had to spend $40 in gasoline over the weekend? Do you know why? Because I found a gas station where it was $4.79 a gallon, and I know that it's going back up. And sure enough, I get in the car this morning. It is now $5.01. So yeah, I got a little bit more gas than normally I would. See, this is what we working class Americans are being forced to do. We're playing 4D chess, Trump chess, in our mind with our daily budgets. And God bless. Look, God bless you. You know, if you're one of these people who are like, whatever, I can afford $5 a gallon for a couple of months. If it means I can sleep at night, then you're a Kool-Aid drinking fool because that is what they fed you. They are trying to give you that excuse. They are trying to get you to say, I support anything this administration does because now I can sleep well at night knowing that Iran doesn't have access to a nuclear bomb. What about North Korea? What about India? What about Pakistan? What about all of these other nations who we are not necessarily on the best of terms with? Russia, China, I didn't even mention them. But we're supposed to sleep well at night now because somebody who didn't have a bomb, somebody that wasn't keeping us up because we were already being kept up by North Korea, China, Russia, Pakistan. We were already being kept up, but now you're telling us you can go to sleep because that thing you weren't worrying about because they didn't have it yet. And I see people making that point. Would you just stop it? And now this week, we've got Trump going to China. They are luring him in. China is the big winner in all of this here. Trump wants an expedited end to this war where there will at least be some kind of gray area where Trump can go, say, look what I did. That's all Trump wants. It doesn't need to be decisive at this point. He needs to be able to end it, say he won, and then be able to back up that claim by, pointing to some gray area. China's like, yeah, we like looking at Trump spin in the wind. We're loving this. China, remember, China's boats are getting through. Iran is letting China's boats go through, and America is not firing on Chinese ships. Iran, all of their shit is going through. Also, something else that maybe we don't recognize, but all of that stuff that comes through the Hormuz, where all the problem is, most of that stuff goes to the Western world. That's pretty much where the exports to the rest of the world come through, right? China, on their side of the world, they got their own kind of export thing happening. And guess whose business is through the roof because of all the trouble that's happening in the Strait of Hormuz? China's. So China's just sitting here watching this mess that Trump made, looking at him pinned into the corner. And then China says, come on over. And Trump is going to China. Let me tell you something else that's going to happen here. This is why China wants Trump coming to them. Well, China, to use Trump's own words, holds all the cards. They hold all the cards. This isn't a problem for China. So Trump's going to go to China in the hope of Ping Jing Jugu, the guy in charge there. The hope is that when he stands as the leader of China, a country that is thriving right now because of this mess, thriving despite the fact that the rest of the world that relies on American guidance is struggling. China wants to be able to stand next to Trump and show the world two kinds of leaders. They're hoping against hope that Trump does something stupid. Because when Trump does something stupid standing next to the leader of China, this isn't Trump doing something stupid in front of a leader of a country that Trump is obviously superior to. This is Trump doing something stupid in the eyes of the world's other choice, or next to the world's other choice. That's what China wants. So Trump's going to China. Let's hope they will respect us again. Let's hope this works out well. Okay? So that's happening this week. That'll occupy. Now, from Trump's perspective, he's not thinking about any of the global stuff. He's thinking of what kind of shit can we do now? The UFO disclosure did absolutely nothing. They didn't bite that. We've got China coming up next week, sir. All right, let's really lay into China. Let's make sure that everybody covers China. Because again, if you're doing that, you're not asking about the Epstein files. You're not asking about gas prices. You're not asking about the price of milk. Oh, this is something we need to talk about, guys. Is this just a Midwestern thing? I don't know how this could be because we are literally in dairy country. We bumper up against where all the milk comes out that we drink. So I had to get some milk because there was a poor milk purchase in our house. What is a poor milk purchase? A poor milk purchase is fat-free milk. I went to go have a glass of milk the other day, and I poured my glass of milk, and I took a sip and went, and I spit it out immediately. I thought it was spoiled. Turned out it was just fat-free. I looked at it. I'm like, fat-free milk. Now, I'm a 2% guy, and you wouldn't think that 2% and fat-free could be that different, but they are now. Why was the mistake made? Why was a house that always buys 2%, or even on occasion, if we're celebrating, maybe even whole milk? Whew. Let's pretend it's 1975 and drink a glass of frothy whole milk. We're not above it, but we're a 2% milk family. Now, the reason I thought nobody would buy this, maybe I bought, I don't know. We don't know. We all bring home milk. We drink a lot of milk. We're a milk family. Whatever, there's a gallon of fat-free milk in there. And I'm like, this cannot stand. So I had to go to the store and I had to go to Target anyway. And so I'm like, all right, I'll go to Target and I'll get some milk. So I go to Target, I get to the dairy section. The dairy section is wiped out. The only thing there is fat-free milk. And the fat-free milk is like that aisle, that little shelf unit. You know, the milk is one after another. That is packed all the way back. And I'm like, I ain't buying that again. That's why I'm here. I'm here because somebody accidentally bought fat-free milk. Probably because it was the only milk to buy. So I leave Target. Target has this is a super Target. I don't think they call it that. Do they call it that? Actually, they do. It is a super Target. It's got a grocery store and a full Target attached to it. So it's a big, healthy dairy section. And no milk. So then I go to the Speedway. The Speedway's on the corner. I go to the Speedway. Same thing. No milk. No milk. Just fat-free. Or that's the only kind of milk. So then I'm like, Jesus, okay. So I go to Walgreens. Then I go to Walgreens. No milk. No milk. The milk. Now, maybe, here's the thing. This is what I thought. This could either be the start of a nationwide milk crisis that no one can get milk, or the dude who delivers milk to all the stores in this area had a heart attack and died Thursday. Maybe he didn't make his milk deliveries, but whatever. There was no milk to be found in the southwest suburbs. I finally had to go to a 7-Eleven. I walked into a 7-Eleven and they had one thing of 2% left, and I grabbed it and I put it up there and I paid for it, and it was $6. $6 for a gallon of milk. Combine that with the gas I burnt trying to buy a gallon of milk. Thanks, Biden. Right? I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here, man? Everything sucks right now. But that's okay. We choose to be optimists, right? Yes, we do. All right. So, so my question about the milk is it just something here? Is this like just something that I experienced specifically in my region of 5 stores that I went to that had milk problems? Because if it is something specific, or is this something that's building? Like, are we going to hear this week that, the nation's dairy cows have come down with lung fever? Whatever that is. Bovine mumps is the reason there's no 2%. It only affects skinny cows. I don't know. We're going to hear that this week? Because I'm telling you, we're already feeling it. Barney says he buys whole milk. Whole milk. But it doesn't surprise me. Barney, I think is choosing to live in 1988. And I think that's fine. That's fine. That's a comfort zone. Whole milk. We drank whole milk in 1988. We do 2%. Homos and divorcees. That's who drank 2% milk. They drank 2% milk and they had a bowl of cottage cheese with, for some reason, 1 sliced peach on top. I don't know why that seemed to have been a diet food back in the 80s, but Peter says Brahms milk is the best. It's all right. Brahms is good. Here's what I like about Brahms. Brahms, when you walk into a Brahms is like something that you would see in every Midwestern lake town. Like whether Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Northern Illinois, Northwest Indiana, wherever, a lake town where tourists go on weekends and they rent houses or whatever and they ski and all that. There's always in those towns, there's a thing like a Brahms where it's like, basically it's ice cream, but also groceries, whatever you need, because it's a lake town. We don't really have a super Walmart near. Well, we do out near the interstate, but I like Brahms. Brahms, every time I walk into a Brahms, we don't have Brahms. Brahms is not a Midwestern thing, but every time I would walk into a Brahms, I felt very Midwestern. I used to drive out of my way to go to Culver's just because I'm like, I need Wisconsin. And Culver's was something I could get in Texas. All right. But I ain't drinking whole milk. Whole milk, that's too hardcore, bro. Too hardcore. Peter says it's regional because we got plenty of 2% in these parts. All right, that's good to know. Was at Kroger yesterday. Or maybe it's just hitting this region first because we get the milk first. It comes to look before those milk trucks and those trains and all that delivering the milk from the dairy states all the way down to the rest of the country. It's right here. It's like the first stop is Chicagoland. We're literally across the border from Dairyland. So I don't know. Maybe it's, maybe this is the first domino. Maybe now in a week from now, you'll be like, where's all the 2%? Who knows? Keep an eye out for it. Culver's is the bomb. Culver's is the bomb. I love Culver's. I like a nice cement. I tried to make a Culver's cement custard, frozen custard, and it turned out terrible. It froze, but if I froze it too long and it was just an ice cube of custard, and then I had to let it melt, and then it just became pudding. I don't know what I'm doing. It was tasty though. It was good. It was like a vanilla cinnamon custard. It was very good. All right. Okay. So China, we covered China. We covered Iran. How about rat plague? What's the latest in the rat plague? Does this feel, somebody said to me this weekend, this feels like the beginnings of COVID. I don't know. You know why? Because I don't remember the beginnings of COVID. COVID wasn't real until like this time in 2019. But COVID, or in 2020, because, COVID began in 2019. It was first discovered, I guess, in November of 2019. So that's why I got tagged COVID-19 for the year 2019. But then it was like in late January where there was the first thing. It was like, oh, this new disease, right? January. And then like for like weeks, it was building and building and more people were dying and more people were dying. But for the first month, we didn't really pay attention to it. Much the same way that we're not really paying attention to what's going on this boat. It's background noise. Hey, what's the latest with the boat? It's not like everyday shit the way COVID would eventually begin. So when somebody asked me this weekend, they're like, doesn't this remind you of the beginning of COVID? I go, I don't honestly remember the beginning of COVID. I just remembered, all of a sudden it was like, we got to wear masks and we can't go anywhere. And I ended up taking a job back then delivering. I went to work at a friend's pizza place, Palermo's, because everything was closing down and there was nothing to do. So, I started delivering food. We were essential workers. Pizza boys. Oh man, that was awesome. Dude, I was making stripper money. Like in the beginning of COVID, delivering food from a popular little Italian restaurant here on the south side of Chicago, I was making Okay, guys. Chat room. Is the mic back on? Because it went off, but I think I caught it very quickly. What did you? Okay, now. Okay, apparently I didn't catch it within 30 seconds because the chat room. The mic is back on now. Hope I didn't miss too much. Just let the chat room fill me in here. You're good now. All right, thank you. How long was it out? Sound is now on. Good. And it's the right sound, right? All right. So anyway, the beginnings of COVID, I don't really remember it. So, I didn't know how to answer that. I was like, I'm remembering this though. I'm paying attention here because now we're all on point for the next pandemic. Is it going to be the Andes variant of the hantavirus? Not in any way related to what killed Betsy Arakawa, aka Mrs. Gene Hackman. No, different hantavirus. We went over that last week. What is the latest here? Let me see. What do we got? The latest on the rat plague, because it's here. It's in America. I don't know if anybody's died yet. I know we got a bunch of people being monitored in Nebraska. It's a good place for it. I got to be honest. When they're like Utah, somewhere in the desert, Los Alamos, New Mexico, that might be a good place for it. The latest here, as of today, one American passenger has tested positive for the Andes virus. It says they were on the MV Hondius cruise ship. Another American is currently hospitalized with mild symptoms. In total, there are 17 Americans who were evacuated from the ship and are being monitored at the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska. That's very close encounters. This is, man, look, we've all seen Outbreak, right? We've seen these movies about pandemics and how they start. How do they start? There's always some place in Nebraska with a whole bunch of like plastic tented air rooms and people walking around in like space suits. And then there's like, somebody on the table and they look really bad and then something horrible happens to them. That's what's happening right now. I don't know if it's that drastic. I don't know if anybody's dying. We haven't heard reports of that yet, but okay. So a total of 17 Americans have been evacuated from the ship and are being monitored right now at the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska. In addition to those 17, okay, there are at least 9 other Americans who left the ship earlier in its voyage, and they are also being monitored by health department officials in their home states. Here are the states where this stuff is happening, okay? Nebraska, this is the primary location. They're monitoring for 16 of the 17 Americans, okay? So 16 of the 17 Americans who were on the ship are being evaluated there in that place in Nebraska, middle of a cornfield. Where's the 17th one? Where's that guy? That guy's in Vegas. He decided to slip out and he went to Vegas because if he's going to die, he's going to take as many people with him as possible. Georgia. In Georgia, there are 2 residents who are being monitored in Atlanta. One is currently showing mild symptoms. That ain't good. That ain't good because it's mild now, but from what I understand about viruses, they do get progressively worse. California, there are residents in the Bay Area and Santa Clara County who are on the ships and are under observation. Doesn't say exactly how many. It says residents. Residents in the Bay Area and Santa Clara County who are on the ship are under observation. All right, here's the important one. Texas. What do we got in Texas? Healthcare officials in Texas are tracking residents who previously disembarked. I need to know more about Texas. Hold on. Let's see if they'll give us more information. Can you give me more information on how Texas is handling their cases of the Hanta virus as it concerns the ship that was quarantined? All right. Do you remember when my AI used to talk? It doesn't talk back to me anymore. We used to remember my robot Kelly or whatever I was calling her. All right, here's what we have here. Latest in Texas. Texas health officials are currently monitoring 2 residents who were passengers on the MV Hondias cruise ship. Both individuals are from the Houston area. Of course they are. Actually, no, not of course. I would have bet dollars to donuts that they were from Dallas. Because just seems like the more sophisticated of everything happens in Dallas first. The rare thing from somewhere else always breaks in Dallas before Houston, whether it's fashion, music, whatever. Ebola. It always breaks in Dallas first. Dallas is the Paris of Texas, except there is a Paris, Texas. Dallas is the Athens of Texas. Early disembarkment for the Texas residents. It says here that these individuals are not part of the group of 17 who were evacuated. Instead, they left the ship and returned to Texas before the outbreak was even identified. They have no known exposure. That's probably the most important thing. Both of these residents reported that they had no contact with any sick passengers or crew members while they were on board the ship. So when they were on the ship, they were sick people? Because when they say that they are monitoring Americans who are on the ship previously, I assume just previous cruises, like the cruise before. But maybe they mean they were on this actual cruise and they just got off early. Is that a thing? I don't know. I will never go on a cruise, so I don't need that information. Texas is following a strategy focused on containment and transparency rather than the mass quarantine for these specific residents. DSHS, Department of Sexual Healing, son. I don't know what DHS, I don't know what that is. DSH, Health and Security, I'm guessing. I know what DHS is. DSHS maintains close contact with the CDC and other state health departments to track any new developments. Because the individuals are currently healthy and were not on board during the peak of the outbreak, they are performing voluntary checks rather than being placed in a biocontainment unit. Because Texas freedom? I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I would say put them in a biocontainment. Hey, sucks to be you, but you know what? You guys were on the boat, so you should go in a biocontainment. But then Joe Rogan would do like 1 million podcasts about how that is wrong, and then suddenly I'd be evil. Just because I'm like, sucks to be you too, but you know what? There's a whole lot of us out here that don't want to catch whatever it is that you might have. But no. The government of Texas is allowing them to do voluntary check-ins. How you feeling? I'm fine. As they're on their way out to a baseball game that they've had tickets to for months. Are you sure you're feeling fine? I'm fine. I can go to the game. I'm fine. Cool. Health workers are prepared to transition to formal isolation only if either individual develops a fever or respiratory symptoms. All right, that's it. There you go. Rat plague coming to America. Rat plague. See, if I was still doing a radio show, that would totally be a parody song. Me, Eric, and Sybil would be working on, and Kelly. Kelly was a great lyricist. We'd be working on after the show today. It's coming to America. Rat plague. It's coming to... That's a good song. That is the start. That is the start. Put me in a room for a half hour. Me and Kelly will come up with funny lyrics. James. We could just farm that out to James. Go, James, Rat Plague to the tune of Neil Diamond's Coming to America. Go. I miss those days. I miss those days of fun radio. Now we got Bongino or whatever. Now we got Sean Hannity on 300 stations. Ain't nobody having any fun with that guy around. Peter is helping me out with that. Apparently, it's not the Department of Sexual Healing, son. It's the Department of State Health Services. Thank you, Peter. Barney says, it reminds me more of the Ebola thing than COVID. All right, Dr. Barney, how so? Wishful thinking, projecting your wish. I hope it's, look, sure as hell. Isn't that weird to say? I sure as hell hope that it's more like the Ebola situation in Dallas from a few years ago, which was contained and nothing happened. I sure as hell hope it's more like that than COVID, which shut down the globe for 2 years. God, I still feel like we're in COVID. Well, probably because I haven't gotten a job since. All right, that's got to change. All right, let's keep going here. What else do we have? What else do we want to talk about? All right, we did Rat Plague. We talked about China. We talked about Iran. All right, how about this one? This is something that bugs me. This bugs me because, you've heard me tell this story a bunch of times. The Department of Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, stole my life. That's right. He stole my life. I mean, I got over it, but okay. So here's the story, just very quickly. So back in the mid '90s, I was a stunt boy. Well, we gotta get rid of Barney. Can't have that up. So back in the mid '90s, I was a stunt boy here on a very popular syndicated morning show out of the Midwest, and we were all over the Midwest. And I was, every day of the week, I was doing something else. Oh, I'm on the streets of St. Louis getting arrested at the Arch, or oh, I'm down in Graceland getting banned for whatever it was, all of these different stunts that I did. And because of that, when MTV started casting for their new season of The Real World, they would use our station to recruit people, right? So MTV would contact our station and they would say, you want to have one of our MTV producers on and you can talk to them about the new season of The Real World, and then you'll promote where they're going to be doing auditions and all that. So sure, we do it, right? That was radio in the 90s. So my host during this interview with Mary Ellis Bonham, who was the creator of Real World. So during this interview, my host brings me in and he's like, this is Pugsley. He's a so blah, blah. He does this and this, and he'd be great on The Real World. And the idea was that I was going to be like Puck times 10, except Puck, but likable, like just like always laying on the couch and like in my underwear. And so I was going to go into this Real World thing as a real wrench, right? I was like going to just do the shit I was doing already on the morning show, but do it on this. And Mary Ellis Benham loved it. And after the show, she called back and she said, look, we're very interested. Can you put a sizzle reel together of the stuff that you did? And so there was a crazy reel of me doing all kinds of street stuff and crowds. And she said, perfect, you're in. I was supposed to be on The Real World. I was supposed to be in The Real World Boston, and all of the mechanisms were in place, and I did promos. There were like weeks of like promos that you have to do from your hometown, but they have to look like they're from The Real World. So I did promos pretending like, well, I'm really excited. I can't wait to meet my roommate. I did all of those promos. And then I got a call like a month before I was supposed to leave from another producer, not Mary Alice. She didn't tell me. Mary Alice Bonham is the creator of The Real World. She's not the one who called me. Some other person called and told me that I couldn't be on because my birthday would occur during filming, and my birthday would make me too old to be on the show. So I think it was 26. I think you couldn't be 26. You had to be under 26. And in the middle of filming, I would turn 26. And they're like, yeah, we can't make the exception. So they went with the other guy from the Midwest region, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. And he got to move into the cool firehouse on The Real World. And he got to marry, I wouldn't want to marry the chick from San Francisco, but he got to marry that chick. I wouldn't want to marry her. I don't know. I'd probably go after Julie from season 1. I'd be like, I got to meet Julie from season 1. That's who I want to marry. So Sean Duffy is in the news because Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, who under his watch has seen just an, I don't know, they say it's being reported that there's an uptick in air travel incidents under this particular Secretary of Transportation's watch, but I don't know. I know that we've had some pretty high profile things happen in the last year. We've got airplane, we got military helicopters crashing into planes, people dying. We got shit happening on runways. Just over the weekend, there were 2 incidents. There was a guy that was killed by a plane. Anyway, our airports appear to be a mess. And that is the primary job of the Secretary of Transportation, but not this guy, not Sean Duffy. Sean Duffy, check this out. Hold on. Watch this. Sean Duffy, as Secretary of Transportation, has produced a road trip. When he produced it, who knows? He has produced a reality series with him and his family. It's a lovely family. And if he wasn't the Secretary of Transportation, I maybe wouldn't have a problem with this. But we all know that there has been problems in our airports. The Secretary of Transportation does not seem to be doing a bang-up job, and now we learn that he has been filming a cross-country road trip with his wife and his 9 kids. And it's being released now. It's a new show. And is he aware? I mean, here's what I need to know. This show was obviously produced long before Kristi Noem got the boot for that crazy, super expensive commercial. How long before we find out how much of our taxpayer dollars supposedly went for this? Now, they're saying none. They're saying no taxpayer dollars, but they also said that about the ballroom. They're saying that an organization called, a private nonprofit called, hold on, what is this show called? The show is called The Great American Road Trip. They are saying that this is being entirely paid for by an organization called the Great American Road Trip Organization. Who the hell is that? I mean, this sounds like at best money laundering, and at worst, another one of these situations where we're going to find out that this thing cost us like $100 million. So here it is, our Secretary of Transportation, who's doing literally a bang-up job. Literally, things are banging up all over the place. Our Secretary of Transportation, he had time while helicopters are crashing into shit and, you know, all our control towers are understaffed. He had time to do this.
What a beautiful family.
Hi, can I say hi to Mr. President? Can I say hi to President Trump?
Taking a little trip.
Yes.
A little trip all over.
So the motto is to love America is to see America.
It's more than a road trip. It's a civic experience. It's one of the most powerful ways to understand the vast, beautiful, complicated place we call home.
1, 2, 3, road trip.
Everybody looks forward to it.
Yes. Yes.
You're not told to go by your parents. You're not said, we're going and you're going, but I don't.
All right, so here's an interesting thing about this. They're trying to frame it like they're just an all-American family on a road trip. Okay, well, gas prices are a little bit insane. If you're trying to encourage people to take road trips this summer to celebrate the 250th birthday of our country, this is what you would call bad timing. Secondly, you're not a regular American family. Regular American families are like the Griswolds when they go on road trips and they have 9 kids. You've got 9 kids. When they go on road trips with 9 kids, they stay in funky motel rooms and like 5 kids stay to a room. It's insane. Not you guys. Because at the end of the day, you're actually the Secretary of Transportation and your 9 kids are going to lay their heads down on flour or feather pillows from the Four Seasons every night. That's right. Look at this. There is a crew. There are camera people. There are producers. There are handlers. There are staff that are with the Secretary of Transportation just because he is the Secretary of Transportation. There are security. All of these people need hotel rooms. All of these people need to be fed. All of these people need to be put on airplanes and flown. This is stupid. Here we go.
Want to go, Mom?
Seatbelts on.
Everybody wants to go, right?
I think Mud's kind of mad.
I'm not. You're mad.
We're not going to fight on this trip. Put your seatbelts on.
So we're inviting you along with our family on the Great American Road Trip. Stop scrolling and hit the road, mile by mile, window down, and hearts wide open.
Well,
How tone deaf is this? Hit the road this summer? Are you people insane? Well, we filmed it last year and we spent $250 million on it for a reality show.
welcome to Montana.
The Duffys, they've got tons of kids. I think they have like 11 kids. 9 or 11 something. Is there a difference?
We're encouraging everyone to go take a road trip to celebrate America's 250th birthday.
I honestly do not have a problem with this idea and this message. I think it's a bit elaborate, especially while he's the sitting Secretary of Transportation. This is maybe something that a former Secretary of Transportation might do when they're out of office. I don't have any problem with the idea of American families getting in a car and taking a road trip. I don't have a problem with that in better times. These are not the times to be pushing this message. Nobody can do it because, we don't have access to taxpayer dollars or these weird mega slush funds like you do. So the Great American Road Trip Organization, that was an organization that's been around for years, and they decided that they were now going to make this project? Or did the Great American Road Trip Organization just kind of appear in thin air once you guys decided that you needed money for this? It's a nonprofit. Okay, so here's how this works. So they go around to a whole bunch of rich people and they say, you know what? You want us to listen to your complaints? You want to have access to MAGA? You need to fund this nonprofit to the tune of $500 million. And that's what they do. And now suddenly there's this big behemoth of a nonprofit called the Great American Road Trip. And what are they going to do? Well, they're going to send the Duffy family on like an all-expense paid fabulous trip across America while he's supposed to be in his office. I don't even know where his office is. The old executive building, maybe? I don't know. Stupid.
He said we're going to do a road trip.
Okay, we've seen summer. Are we being led to believe that this is one continuous road trip, or did they film this on weekends over the course of? That's all information that we need to know.
Love it. It's fun, family. They're going to hit all the high marks in the U.S.
We're going to actually see it in person.
They lived in Boston for 6 months.
How did you live in Boston, but you don't know any fun things to do in Boston?
He lived in Boston when he stole my life.
Love America, you gotta see America.
All right, I
and
can't
meet
do
the
this.
people.
Anyway, there you have it. Sean Duffy. Here's the story. It says Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy defends his new reality show amid backlash. Critics have called Duffy's road trip show out of touch. Yeah, when gas prices are soaring amid the U.S. war with Iran. But just also, it's just a bad look for an executive to be doing a TV show, to be trying to be a reality star while you're the sitting Secretary of Transportation. It's serious. And we've again lowered the bar on what is normal for the behavior of our leaders and statesmen. We have lowered the bar again because now that's normal. Now it's normal. Oh, it's not like it's never been done before. Right now, that is now fucking part of the conversation. When the conversation should have just been, we don't do that because it's not right. Well, it's been done before. Normalized. The Great American Road Trip, a 5-part reality series set to air on YouTube in celebration of the United States' 20th anniversary, follows Duffy as he travels across the country with his wife, Fox News host Rachel Campos Duffy, and their 9 children. Do you remember Rachel Campos? Do you remember her from The Real World San Francisco? Wasn't she the one? Did she either love Pedro or hated Pedro? Pedro was the San Francisco Real World dude who was dying of AIDS. He died of AIDS, Pedro. But I think it was her. I think it was her that, oh man. Was she pro Pedro or anti Pedro? I need the chat room to let me know. Real World San Francisco. Okay, that was the one with Puck. Wait, didn't she also like Puck? All right, anybody in the chat room who can tell me what Rachel Campos' whole vibe was? Because I don't remember. Was she friends with Pedro or did she hate him because he had AIDS? And didn't she hook up with Puck? I think she did. I think Rachel Campos hooked up with Puck. Oh my God. Anyway, let's move on. The Secretary of Transportation has a reality show, and that's normal now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our world. Okay, I need to take a quick break. I can go to the bathroom. I'm going to give me some coffee. We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Maddie. She's got a bunch of stuff. Most interestingly to me, Maddie's about to pay for a blue check. She's about to go through the blue check thing. So we'll talk about that. She's also got some stuff brewing down there in Louisiana. That's right, our Southern Fried reporter, Maddie, on a Monday. That'll be when we come back from this. I just need to get a coffee, and I need to get a little something to I need coffee, and I need to go to the bathroom. That's it. That's all I need to do. So I'll be back. Give me a break. We'll come back, and again, we got a whole bunch of show left. Please help the show out, you guys, if you can. Shaking the Tin Cup. Pledge Week. Thank you, folks. Love you. Quick break. I'll be back, okay? All right, sorry about that. A little bit longer than I'd intended. Had to do something. All right, let's call Maddie. See if she's there. Hold on, something's not right. Okay. Hold on. I'll get you. All right, Maddie, are you there?
I am here.
There it is. All right. Sorry, I'm using a new. Oh, never mind. I don't need to bore people with this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What is on Matt. Well, it's not the Matt. I didn't update your thing yet. What is on Maddie's mind for a Monday? We used to call it Maddie on a Monday, but then we missed a couple Mondays. My fault, not hers. And here we are. Hi, Maddie.
Hey, how is everybody? Hope everybody had a great weekend and enjoyed their mommies.
Yeah, mother. Yeah, I was happy to have mine home. And are you in the same zip code as your mom, or are you guys distanced?
No, I'm not. I'm about 3 hours away. I did not get to go home and see my mom, but I'm gonna go and take a nice trip longer in June and spend some quality time with her.
All right, there you have. Hey, what is happening? All right, you want to get started with the stupid blue check argument? Go ahead. Tell people what you're about to do, you monster. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's do the monster stuff first, and then we'll do the other monster stuff. Well, okay. So, you and I have always talked about how we don't want to be part of the institutionalization of social media and how we protest against it. And I agree. But I have been swayed to at least experiment with the blue check on X. I've been swayed. I have been working very hard to build up my social media presence only on my X account. My X account is separate and apart from my personal account, my business account. I use it for, social justice warrior type stuff and things like that. And I just wasn't getting any real engagement. And so X was running a special for half price, $4 a month. And I had to ask myself the question, is $4 a month worth it for me to at least see if this helps?
Okay, your integrity worth $4 a month? And we found out, well, what did we find out? Is it? It costs $4. Okay, so here's my problem with it. The wealthiest man in the world threw a tantrum about 6 years ago and made one of the worst business deals in history to make it so that it's okay, because that's what we're all about for the richest man on the planet. We wanted to make it okay. So he decided that, what I'm going to do now? I'm going to charge people for something that is still free, 100% still free. It always was free, but it's still free. But I'm also going to charge people to have a blue check. Now, what does the blue check mean? Back in the first era of Twitter, the blue check meant that you were somebody special, not necessarily a celebrity, but somebody special. And there was a caste system that emerged on Twitter. He opened that up to everybody. The idea was very egalitarian. It was very unitarian. It was very beautiful. It was everybody should be allowed to be a blue check. And now all you got to do is pay $11 a month. Well, I saw that almost immediately as just this guy trying to manipulate the peasants into bailing him out of his terrible business deal. So on this day that I had this epiphany, I said I would never pay for a blue check. That's my principle. You, however, see some benefit to having the blue check. Now, explain to me what that benefit is.
Well, okay. So, I'm very deep in the streaming world, probably much more than most people. I watch a lot of stuff. And I have another ulterior motive behind this too. And this is something that I have not even shared with you personally. It hasn't even escaped my lips to anyone. So I'm going to be very vulnerable and share this on air right now in front of everybody. I have been approached by multiple people in the DSA in my district to consider running for Congress in this next cycle, not the current one that we're in that's going to be determined in the November elections, but 2 years from now. I'm not sure if I'm interested in that. I'll be honest with you. It sounds daunting. It sounds crazy. It sounds like so much work. And all of these things are true. But at the same token, I'm intrigued by this, not for its social promotion level of this thing, but for the fact that it could be a way to affect real change. And I am sitting in a district that is run by a deep red Republican who never does anything for its people. And people are crying out for this change. And I'm honored that people think that this is something that I can do. So this forced me to look at what I need to accomplish as a person on this planet that could affect change. And so I've made some decisions. One of the decisions was to speculate on this check, that if this would engage people further to get messages out, is it worth it? And I've also made some big decisions politically. And I am now joined with the DSA in, on the national level. So, these decisions don't come easy for me. These are not knee-jerk reactions. I'm a very process-oriented person. And I never really knew that I thought before that these things mattered. As a Gen X, I don't even know that I thought that voting mattered that much. It's not what I was told my whole life.
Wait a second. Let me just stop you here. So are you telling me that we have the opportunity to, if we all get behind it, turn you into like the lefty Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because if that's on the table, I'm all in. Let's go.
I can't be part of something that thinks that lizard people are a thing, but
no, that's the right side of it. That's the conservative craze. No, you're the left version of Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're the woman with no political background who was so incited by what she's seeing happening politically that you were compelled to join the fray.
Insurgent.
Yeah.
Yes, the insurgent candidate.
And by the way, you're gonna be the right. They're gonna paint you as like just as crazy as the left painted Marjorie Taylor Greene. So get ready.
For sure.
Yeah,
I know. And these are things that I'm considering. I mean, and I don't mean like, oh, yay, I'm ready for this huge challenge. I am absolutely thinking about how this will affect my life, how this might affect the life of my family, my friends, my business. This could ruin me. This could paint me into a corner where I look like an insane person, because I'm going to be standing 10 toes down with Republican men who love to do nothing more than make people look crazy. And it is not something that I'm comfortable with. It's not something I'm saying yes to today. But I realize that if I have any chance of being this or doing this in a real way, then there are some concessions I'm going to have to make about my thought processes. And one of them is that my voice will have to be heard in a much more meaningful way.
All right. So let me just dial into that, because that all sounds wonderful. And it sounds like you have some really cool and once in a lifetime kind of things to consider. But let's get this straight. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about Congress at the federal level? Are we talking about state rep? Oh,
no,
so you're not even going state. You're not even going community.
Nobody has approached me about any sort of a state level election. They are not interested in putting me at a school board where I can affect local change or anything like that. Quite frankly, again, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you might be a sacrificial. You might be a sacrificial lamb. That might be what I mean. You're in a deep red district, right? I mean, the blues really don't. They're going to sink a whole bunch of money into you taking a vulnerable seat.
No, the DNC is certainly not going to throw any significant money at me. It is going to be a boots on the ground AOC style.
And here's how they see you. They probably see you as somebody that is a long shot to win, but you are a good mouthpiece and messenger for what it is they're trying to get into that area. So there you go. That's really good. That's how, look, upstarts win. And you're very charismatic. So,
and I have to think about that too, because I could throw a ton of effort and a ton of money and a ton of time at something that I know going into it, I have no shot of winning. And that is certainly also something that presses hard on my spirit with regards to, so then I have to really ask the question, do I stand on principle and throw myself into the fire and be eviscerated on a public stage for no hope of winning because the message is just that important? Or do I go into this genuinely thinking that something good could come from this and that I might be one day standing on Capitol Hill fighting for a bill that I really believe in? I don't know. Maybe both of those options are great options. And I have to think about all of this.
All right. Well, that's honestly a fairly acceptable reason for compromising one's principles. I've not been faced with that. I stand firm that I will never pay the world's wealthiest man a monthly fee for something that is free and that was free simply because he made a humiliating business deal. I am married to that principle. Now, somebody calls me today and says, hey, look, you want X amount of dollars for your show, blah, blah, blah. And oh, yeah, by the way, you got to get a blue check. I will do it in a heartbeat because that guy's paying for it. That money, I will not spend my own money while I am a struggling member of the working class to pay that monthly nut. In the minute that, advertiser or whatever goes away, I will drop that blue check. I don't have the kind of choice that you are telling me that you are considering. So for that, I applaud you. I think it's very exciting and go for it. Yeah, spread your message because it is absolutely true that the blue check does increase.
It does.
The traction.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
But hold on.
Just in a few
This
days.
is also why I find it so insidious. Because what that means is that we're being throttled. The peasant voice is being throttled. Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind. I changed my account. Like I said, they were running a special. It was $4. I said, okay, it's $4 worth it for me to try this. It was $4 for 2 months, and then it goes up to $8. And I decided to do this on Thursday. And I can assure you that by Sunday afternoon, the engagement piece, the analytics, because you get all of that when you go into this, subscription format, the numbers are ridiculous. And it didn't even take that much. I didn't do anything different than I was already doing. I'll put it that way.
That intrigues me.
Yeah.
That intrigues me because I know it's undeniable, because I know, but again, I can't, hey, look, somebody, what does it cost? What is it? $4? Somebody wants to tip the show $4 right now and specifically say, Pugs, get a blue check for the next month. We can do that. I can do it. But again, I am not going to pay my own money that I need for gas and that I need for food and to keep the lights on and to keep the stream going. I can't justify it, man.
Yeah, I get it. I understand, like I said, but, I also see where if I'm going to actually engage in this big thing, maybe this calling, this hand that's reaching out to me, that's asking me to engage in a meaningful way, the $4, I have to at least build up a presence, and because I'm not going to be a viable candidate without it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And, honestly, this show, I would love to know, after 5 years of doing this show every day, I would love to see what the traction would have been if, we started this from the beginning. And I almost feel like it's too late now. I don't know how long the show will continue. Would I be stupid to just not try for a couple of months with a blue check just to see if that makes a difference? I don't know. See, life is not black or white. Life is very gray. It's very nuanced. All right. So I applaud you. I accept your reasoning for going with a blue check, and I wish you nothing but the best with it. Now, what else is happening in your world? Tell me a story.
Well, so, kind of to leverage off into the next conversation, which is very meaningful to the last one we just had, where I revealed about Congress, there are some very deceptive voting practices that are playing out in real life in the state of Louisiana right now. So I know that you like me to provide context. I don't like to assume that people understand fully what's happening. So I'm prepared here to explain. Okay. In 2020, after the census, that's when redistricting happens. And it was counted after the 2020 census that the state of Louisiana had 33% Black populace. Therefore, they were told that they can qualify for a newly drawn congressional map. At the time in 2020 that this was happening, there was only one Black majority district in the entire state of Louisiana, because the census controls how many districts happen. People redrew a map, and that map created now 2 Black majority districts in the state of Louisiana. They put this in front of federal court judges, and federal court judges upheld in the federal judges, but not at the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, I'm getting my story screwed up here. They said that they needed one. They told them to do it, and they went out and did this. Okay. So then they proposed the map, and then they struck the map down, saying that it was gerrymandered racially, despite the fact that the whole purpose of it behind was the fact that it was to represent 2 majority Black districts. This court case was called Louisiana versus Calais. So in the last weeks or so, this has played out in real time and has opened up the floodgates for other states in the southern portion of the United States to now challenge maps that have been adopted, primarily Tennessee and Virginia. So Virginia people voted on that. They wanted a new redistrict state. And because of the fact that this now Supreme Court judge, namely 3, Alito, Thomas, and Roberts, have struck this down at the federal level, it has regressed. The whole state is going to be redrawn again, probably going fully red now. And our governor of our state has suspended elections until this is sorted out. Now, at the time he suspended these elections, over 40,000 mail-in voter ballots had already been cast. And he went on 60 Minutes on Sunday, basically purporting that discrimination can happen in both ways. It can happen against Black and white. He's purporting that this is white discrimination, talking points that we have heard over and over again from white supremacy and things of all sorts of natures. And quite frankly, I'm disheartened. I'm disheartened. I find this to be deeply upset.
All right.
Sorry.
So get yourself gathered. Let me weigh in on this. Now, of course, I've been following these stories out of Virginia and the story out of Memphis. Boy, Memphis talking about seceding. Good luck with that, boys. This is a very big, very serious national story. Not one that I would offer on my own because, quite frankly, I don't think I'm the person that needs to be delivering hot takes on these kinds of stories. They affect a lot of people at a molecular level. But here's what I don't understand. I talk a lot about normalization, how absolutely insane things are just normalized because that's how we do it. And nobody goes, we shouldn't do it that way, right? That's never heard. So normalization has done a lot to ruin things in this country. The idea that we had normalized the way our congressional districts look in this country is another great example of that. If you look at a congressional district, it's squiggly lines, it's carve-outs, it's all kinds of stuff that has been tweaked and altered over the years to best produce voter turnout for a specific kind of candidate. That's why we have these insane-looking districts. Okay. I would hope we could all agree that these are insane-looking districts. So here's what common sense, moderate guy says. Wipe out all the congressional districts and let's just do grids. Just grids. They are all going to be evenly sized squares.
Unfortunately, that's not how congressional districts are drawn. Congressional districts are drawn based on population. They endeavor most of the time to create equal districts where multiple people, where this almost the same amount of people.
You have normalized the excuse. You have that is the excuse for.
I'm stating the fact of how congressional districts are drawn. That is how it is drawn.
Yes, and they are not drawn correctly, and the acceptance of it is normalization, and that's what I push back on. Yes, of course, congressional districts representation is about population. We don't do that same thing for the Senate. So, why don't we take an overall population of a state, decide how many congressional districts they should get, and then break it up evenly in the state. Instead, we have 250 years of gerrymandering so that every congressional district looks like a lunatic scribbling at the bottom of their manifesto.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So here's what we're really saying here is that the system is rigged at the outset.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what we must
and then you're
all agree on.
People to function in a system that's rigged against everyone from the jump. Okay. It's not about white versus Black. The system is fucking rigged to start. Okay. But then when you overlay systemic racism into the mix too, then you begin to wonder to yourself, is there ever a way for anyone to win? I don't care if it's white or black. Because what we're seeing here play out is that I don't quite think, I'll be honest with you, that the Republicans are going to win victorious through this process. Because I think there's plenty of black people who already vote Republican because they have conservative values. But you're literally oppressing people into being in a district that their voice will never count for anything more. But I think
hold
this
on.
happens on both sides.
Let me go to the chat room here. I want to hear what the chat room thinks on this as well. We've got Adam here. Now, Adam would be somebody that we all know represents a left tilt, a decidedly left tilt. Adam says we just need a proportional representation system to solve this. Okay. Who disagrees with that? I would pose this directly to Barney, who we know is on the opposite side of Adam. This statement, Barney, from Adam, we just need a proportional representation system to solve this. Barney, do you agree or disagree with that? Don't go into, well, actually it's because of what happened in it. No. Do you agree or disagree? How is it that anybody could disagree with what Adam, who is on the left for most issues, has to say here? And I don't know, I'm just interested in that in the chat room. Because that's true. Nobody would disagree that we need. This is why I don't want to talk about this story. Because when I start ranting like this, I sound stupid.
No, you don't sound stupid. I mean, look, to me, it's very similar to the conversation we had about the check. It's an allegory for the same thing. It's a system in place. Okay. The system, to our knowledge of this moment today, is not going to change. There's nobody out there or no ability in any faction of our government at the current time to rip down the system that's in place today to change it, right? Like there's no uprising, there's nobody burning the Constitution or tearing apart our SCOTUS. This is not happening, and it's not going to happen. So then you're faced with the choice of working within the system in the confines of which it functions today. I could agree that there's all types of ideologies out there that would be better. There's a lot of people that believe in the fall of capitalism. There's a lot of people that believe in the rise of communism, and we call that an ugly, dirty word around here, but there's reasons for it. However, these things are not happening. So then you're faced with the idea that then you have to function in a system that is rigged against you, but you have to try to fight against it the best way you can.
Let's go to the chat room. Again, Adam said, we just need a proportional representation system to solve this. I then challenged Barney to respond. Barney did. Barney said, that lets 5 cities run the whole country. Okay. First, let me respond to Barney. So it's a no. All right. You did exactly what I said don't do. Just, do you agree with this or not agree with this? Okay. So I reject that contention. I think that is absolutely far right, follow the worst people on Twitter kind of fucking propaganda. But okay, let's pretend it is true. I don't have a problem with that, Barney, and you shouldn't either if you believe in one vote, one voice, because if most people live in one place, they should have the most influence. The influence should come where the people live. Barney, you disagree with this? I understand you do. That's a fundamental difference between right and left. But again, I push back on the contention from the beginning that what Adam proposed would lead to just 5 cities running the whole country. I push back on that. But if we're going with it, so what? So what, man?
And see, and if I'm going to lean into what Barney's saying here, and I'm willing to debate about that topic. The 5 cities he's referring to are largely blue cities. So what he's talking about are the 5 major metropolitans of our country. And what is that? Tell me what cities you think that is. That's New York. That's Dallas. That's Atlanta. That's Houston. Okay, so largely in overpopulated.
No, it's not.
Like,
it's New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, and Dallas-Fort Worth. Those are the top 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and typically what you do find in those cities is many more Democratic voters than you do Republican voters, typically. I mean, so that is the concern there, is that
Of course.
if
Yes, because it's where people of all different shapes and sizes come and live together and they get along for the most part.
and it's
All right, hold on. Let's
also
go back to
where
the chat room.
largest
Back to the chat
it's
room.
also where the go ahead.
Back to the chat room. Mike says gerrymandering goes on with both sides. It just doesn't, but it shouldn't. Well, yeah, and that is what I'm saying. Gerrymandering, I don't know who started the slippery slope, but at some point, somebody was the first person to make a weird, wiggly, boundary line for a congressional district, and then somebody on another side had to do the same to equal it out. I don't know who started it. This isn't a Republican thing. This isn't a Democratic thing. It's a bullshit normalized thing that we just act as the way we do things around here. And a normal common sense person should be able to see that that is nonsense. Adam responds in the chat room to Barney, saying that it would lead to 5 cities ruling the whole country. Adam says, oh, sorry, I got the wrong one. Adam says, it doesn't, Barney, lead to 5 cities ruling everything. It doesn't, Barney. Do you know how it works? ? All it is you vote for party and ideals, no candidate specifically, and then that percentage of votes gets the percentage of seats in Congress. Yes, that is sort of what I didn't want to say, but all right, hold on. And then Barney responds, hold on, I want to get all these before I start opining. Barney says, then why would the rest of us be a part of this nation? But Barney, because he lives with a rural mindset, thinks that people who live in cities are a monolith. Barney go, oh, the city people think different to me. You know what I mean? That's like a weird attitude that people who don't spend a whole lot of time around people who are different might have. Back to you, Maddie.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't necessarily disagree with any of this, but this is what Adam is speaking on here is an entire change of our democratic process. He's speaking on an entire shutdown of the government we work in now and a change over to a parliamentary system. We don't have that here. Okay. I think that there's all kind of space for all kinds of things.
We need something new. We need something new. I'm not saying I know what that is, but we need something new because the way we do it is busted.
It is fucked up. We work in a government that really only acknowledges 2 parties, okay, Republicans and Democrats. And even though I'm going to say it right now, even though I am a registered Democrat and obviously vote Democrat because I really feel like I don't have much of a choice, okay. There is no real representation for me at a Democratic level either, because if all of you people in the chat room really want to know the truth, I'm not a Democrat. I am far more left than Democrat. Far more left.
She's a California Democrat.
I am so much further left than a Democrat that you people probably wouldn't sit across a table from me and have dinner. Okay?
She's a Pacific Northwest Democrat. That's how hardcore she is.
I'm a leftist. I am a socialist, and probably by most of you concerns, a communist. I'll be honest with you, okay? Because I understand what the real meaning of these words are. But I also acknowledge that our government structure is in place, and there's no place for me in this government structure. So I try to work within the system that's presented, okay? And what we are literally watching play out in real time is that there are factions that are breaking off in both parties, because there's MAGA, which I don't really believe represents conservatives or Republicans. I don't. I think even Republicans don't like them.
No, of course they don't. No, MAGA is a total cult that masquerades,
It is. But on the Democrat side, it's the same thing. There are factions forming. There is democratic socialists. There are leftists. There are moderates. There are progressives. And so, but yet these people just have to be lumped into one big group, and people are becoming disengaged and disheartened at the idea that they don't have any choices beyond the ones that are presented from us. And that again rolls right into the idea that the system is rigged.
All right, this has been Maddie on a Monday. She told us some big news that she is right now grappling with a potential political run in her future. And let me tell you, if that is true, Byron and Barney, You just admitted to being a communist. You just did all of that shit is going to be all over right-wing Twitter if you gain any traction whatsoever.
Honesty and transparency are important. And, you know, like I said, if this is going to happen in a meaningful way, then I'm going to have to pick where this voice fits. And, you know, but at the same token, before I get off, I'd like to say appreciation to, if you scroll back through the chat, and maybe you will at some point later, there were many people in the chat who were celebrating this announcement. And for the people who are here to hear just the idea that someone is out here screaming and willing to do something about anything that could be happening, I thank all of you for that. And, you know, I didn't see any negativity, and I do appreciate that.
No, you know what? That's absolutely true. Let's talk about the people who are positive. We are a tribe. We are a tribe of disparate minds and attitudes. Let me see. Who do we have? We got, look at Peter. Peter giving you the let's effing go. Leslie C says, go, Maddie. Peter chimes in again with just do it. Hold on. There are. I'm so sorry. I should have, instead of, going, oh, here you go. Who is this? Barney? Yeah. Barney says, me and Byron have been taking notes, Maddie. So there you go.
Okay, it doesn't live in my district. It's okay.
It's okay. Mikey D says, very cool. April also says, heck yeah. Maddie, and then a bunch of strong arms. So yeah, so good. It's always good. Support each other. That's what we need to do.
You Texas people, I want to give y'all a big, huge shout out to before I jump, because, you know, we have started a recall petition for our governor here in this state. And one of the people who have jumped on the bandwagon in order to try to affect this change is Jasmine Crockett. And she has no vested interest in anything that would happen in the state of Louisiana, but she sees that there are two strong Black women from Baton Rouge who have led the charge to pull this recall petition out. And she contacted them, and I watched some stories and read some articles and some commentary from these two women who were very dubious about her participation because they thought that this was something that she would maybe use to leverage her own position at a later date. But they have all come out now and said that Jasmine has coming to them with a pure heart and pure intentions, and has immediately engaged them with people who matter that could maybe make this happen. And so thank you, Jasmine Crockett. I know you are a Texas congressman, but we appreciate it over here, and we need all the help we can.
All right, fantastic. Now, as your campaign manager, here is an idea, just brainstorming. Here's what we're going to do.
Are you raising your hand to help?
Yeah, because you have already established that you are far left, or at least, hardcore left, progressive, socialist even. Okay, so here's what we're going to do for you, Maddie. I need you to get right down to the barbershop. I need you to get cornrows. I need you to start presenting as a Black woman. Oh, present as a Black, just start talking like a Black woman, but don't change your face or your color. That'd be racist. But in every other regard, present as a Black woman. And then when somebody questions you on that, then get that big fight going. How dare you? You can do that.
I'm just going to go ahead and go with the fact that I understand that that's a joke, and I'm going to laugh at it with you.
It's not a joke. I think that you're in Louisiana. You need the far left vote. You need to appeal to, the hair extension crowd. And it sounds to me like you've got two other women who are already being declared with the backing of someone no less than Jasmine Crockett. So I think you just need cornrows. That's all. I'm just saying.
She's helping with the recall petition. I don't think either of those women have decided to run for office. But here's the thing: they live in Baton Rouge. They live in a different district than me. So if either one of these two, strong Black women decide that they want to run for office, then let's go. Let's all go. Let's do it. Let's be an all-woman contingency across the state of Louisiana. I would love it.
Let me tell you something. Because this is how I look at the federal government. Okay, principles do not apply to the federal government anymore. We have crossed the Rubicon. No faith in institutions. If you win as a far leftist, you got to at least put me on your staff. You got to at least let me do crazy live streaming and stuff from it. I will embarrass the U.S. Congress in a way, because we're allowed to do that now. Like I'll live stream from like places I'm not supposed to live stream. Oh, it'll be so great. Oh, wait, you're going to try and restore order. That's kind of your whole thing, right?
Restore order?
Yeah, from the chaos that I want to exploit. Should you find a back door into the United States Congress?
No, I'm gonna be the crazy woman on the Democrat side during the State of the Union address, like Ilhan Omar screaming at Trump, "You're a fraud, you're a fake," right? Like that's my role in this, isn't it?
Okay, all right, get in line. That's a long line. If you're talking about crazy ladies from the Democratic Party who yells, who's the old one with blue hair?
Oh, I don't know where. I don't even know where she's from.
But you know what I'm talking about? She kind of looks like, she's older and she kind of looks like Ruth Buzzy, but she's got like blue hair. She's got like punk rock hair.
Oregon? Is she maybe Portland, like the Portland district, Oregon or something? Maybe Oregon.
I don't know. Maybe she can be your mentor. Punk rock Ruth Buzzy can be your manager.
Well, I'm gonna be more so hoping to take guidance from someone like AOC. Like I like I said, I want to be on the Bernie Kratz side of history. I want to get in there and do good work. And I believe in breaking a few eggs and getting to get stuff done. I don't know if I'm gonna be a crazy person. But I think that it's more important to go up there and do the work and to affect change. And if your message is going to prevent you from making that change, then is that message a good message?
All right, there she is. That's Maddie. We support her no matter what. She's like our little friend. All right, good. Thank you, Maddie. We'll talk later in the week when you got more good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
There she is. We'll call her Blue Check Maddie. She's apparently getting a blue check because she's got big plans. That's good. I need to have big plans. Oh, I got plans. Let me tell you. Let's see. What else are we going to do here today? We talked about okay. You want to do? Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll get into this story. We can get a little serious here now. Not that wasn't serious. We were serious. It was very serious. I was trying to make it light. All right. So I found this story. And it's very upsetting to me because I can absolutely see how this is the future. So as many of you know, last week, my mother was in the hospital. She got sick. And I talked about, how nice the nurses were and, all of that, and how the emergency room was just going crazy. Told you about the little black girl got hit by the Amazon truck. Kiana. I think that was her name. And I talked about the people a lot. I talked about the people who were there. And comes this story. Again, that fresh in my mind. Boy, I'll tell you, I was walking through the hospital on Saturday afternoon, getting ready to break my mom out of there. She got released Saturday afternoon. I was walking through the hospital on a Saturday afternoon, the Saturday before Mother's Day. And it was just particularly somber and just odd. And I realized that this kind of experience of walking through an unfamiliar hospital, looking at the signs, which way do I go? Do I go left? Do I go right? That's something that a lot of us have. I mean, I just felt very connected to the greater world as I was wandering around this hospital. Everybody in the hospital feels a little more connected. Everybody's nice to each other in the hospital. People will hold the elevator for you. Anyway, again, that memory is fresh in my mind. I've been to a couple of hospitals recently, so I've sort of become interested in that sort of thing. Comes this story. All of those jobs are going away. All of those jobs are going away. We, and by we, I mean Gen X and millennials, will more than likely not be cared for by the kind of nurses and doctors and phlebotomists and tube experts and this person and that. We won't be cared for by them. We're going to be cared for by robots. Robots built by, Tesla, for one thing. Nursing aides. Home health care is being eliminated. And now grandma's going to have, and when I say grandma, I mean you. I mean me. We're going to have robots in our house who will act as nurses, who will act in. So once again, detaching humanity from humanity, detaching somebody who is in need of round-the-clock home health care, somebody who is probably at the end of their life. We are again eliminating human-to-human contact for these people at this moment. It is truly dystopian. It says here, here's the story. Do we have videos of it? Hold on. Sorry. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Come on. The page is taking forever to load. Although I have to say that scale. Oh my God. Oh my freaking God. I'm sorry. I just signed into this story and they're like, you must sign up for free to access this story. I didn't need to do that when I pulled the story up this morning, but now they're making me do it. And now they want me to fill out an account and I'm in the middle of a live stream. So let's try this one more time. All right, never mind. You know what? Screw that story. It was a real bummer story anyway. But yeah, anyway, that's the future of home health care. There are going to be no more nurses sent to your house. The people who take care of you in the emergency room, it's all going to be these cool-ass Tesla robots that I wanted to show you that are dressed like little nurses. Why? Because you don't want to scare grandma with her last couple. Oh, this humanoid creature is obviously a nurse. It's got a nurse cap from the 1950s. It's the creepiest damn thing I've ever seen in my life. And maybe I'm a bit more passionate about this because they say that it's about 15 years away from being mainstreamed. So 15 years, that's perfect for me and my generation. Once again, we're going to be the first generation to have something new. And what's that going to be? Completely non-human care right up until the moment of our death. We're the generation that's just going to get warehoused. God damn it. The boomers are once again getting everything. The boomers are getting real people. The boomers are getting good drugs. The boomers are getting, family there by their bedside. Gen X and millennials, man, we're just going to get warehoused. Our kids aren't going to come visit us because that's weird. And they weren't built for that kind of life experience because, again, we built them on screens. So, yeah, sure, our kids will be on a screen in our room, but they won't be there because, again, that kind of human-to-human reality is just a little too awkward. And we birthed an entire generation that don't do that. So, yeah, we're going to get warehoused. Robots are going to, change our medicines and all that kind of crap. There you go. I gave you a little rant anyway. I would have loved to have given you the details about the hospitals where these things are being tested. And right now, 2 of them here in America. That's right. Could you imagine that? You get brought into the ER. It's just like a robot that's checking your, blood pressure and everything. Can the robot do all the things that I saw when I was hanging out in the emergency room? Can the robot cradle the face of the person that's laying on the stretcher and say things like, you're going to be okay, you're going to be okay, we got you, in a human connective way? I don't think so. I don't think the robot's going to be able to replace that person. Well, maybe that skill set is no longer needed because, again, we're just warehousing people and then robots will take care of them until they die. And once it becomes an economic drain, that's when we'll probably make it okay to just them kill us. Well, the roboticide, he chose the roboticide package where after his insurance runs out, the robot just gives him with a lethal dose of, death juice. Dystopian by absolutely every measure. All right, let's move on to something a bit more lighthearted. I found this article interesting. It was an article in Town and Country. Oh, hold on. Everything jammed, my little thing is. Okay, there we go. Let's go through this list. Okay, so this comes to us from Town and Country, a lifestyle magazine. Town and Country is it's got a long history, but it's interesting to me because we see a lot of lists. The best movies of the 80s. I mean, every other stupid thing on Twitter or whatever is, something like that. But Town and Country has been sort of a cultural, pusher of a certain class of people, and I was interested to find out not what we stupids think are the best movies of the 80s. I was interested to see, what do people who are theoretically a bit more sophisticated and cultured than we, the peasants, what do they think are the best movies of the 1980s? So I started to read this. I started to read the article, and it wasn't necessarily something I was going to bring on the air, but because I started to read it, I started to get more and more angry, and I'm like, nah, we're doing this on the air. This is absurd. So here we go. It's actually a big list. It's actually the 54 of the best movies from the 1980s. Okay. Now, we're not going to do all 54, but let's set the tone, okay? Let's go to number 54. What is the absolute last film? I'll give you the last one, and then, hold on. Oh, it's going to be one of these deals where I actually can't go to the last one. This is why you should take notes. Hey, everybody, look, it's my old friend. The man who lives in my head, who tells me that everything I think is good is bad. Schizophrenic me making an appearance. Should have taken notes on this. Oh, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Just sit tight, relax. We got nothing to do. Actually, I do have stuff to do, but that's okay. We got to wrap up by 3. Hold on. It's, you know how the computer is. It's going and it's going. And this is really stupid because I don't know why I just didn't start. Should have just started at number 1. But I wanted to set the bar by showing you what the absolute last best film of the 1980s was, okay? Because that's why it's 54. It's 54 because all these cultured people decided that there are really only 54 remarkable films from the 1980s, and now we're going to list them. All right, so here you go. I wanted to set this because this is an absolute horseshit piece of movie, and it should not be in the top. Well, I don't know. I mean, how many movies? The 80s were a big movies. Number 54. According to sophisticated people, 54th best film, and thus the last of the good films of the 1980s, Desperately Seeking Susan. What? That movie's terrible. I actually rewatched that movie a couple of years ago. I don't remember why, but I started watching it and I was like, nope, still terrible. Doesn't make any sense. All right, let's see. Number 53 is The Money Pit. Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. Remember that? That was fun. 52. And I just wanted to get to this one. This is 52. Okay? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is 52 on this list. Any 1980s movie list that doesn't have this in the top 15 is heartless and horrid. I wonder, I mean, is this movie at 52, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because of the people doing the ranking, the sophisticated moneyed crowd? Did they find nothing to connect to in Planes, Trains, and well, they fly private. Yeah, they've probably never. 52 Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. All right, now put a pin in that. Put a pin in the fact that these people thought that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was number 52 in a list of 54. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So what's number 1? Number 1 has to be absolutely mind-blowing, right? Number 1, Clue. The best movie of the 80s is a movie from the 80s I didn't see because it was a movie based on a board game, and that seemed really stupid. Clue. I don't even know who was in Clue. It wasn't even a hit. Clue. You remember this movie? I think it was like 1985. It was 1985. Here's what it says. Clue, 1985. A group of guests, each harboring a secret for which they've been blackmailed, gather at a spooky mansion at the invitation of a stranger in this practically perfect murder mystery comedy. Yes, it's based on the famous board game, hence the 3 different endings that were shown in theaters. Streaming versions include them all. But this 1985 gem, which stars Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd, Eileen Brennan, and more, is much more exciting and quotable than any night around the table playing games. I never even saw this movie because it looks stupid. Number 1, Clue? Raging Bull came out in the 1980s, and Clue is number. Okay, so let's go to the top 10. Okay, again, we've established already that this is going to be a wacky roller coaster ride of a list, because number 52 in a list of 54 was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and number 1 was Clue. All right, so you can already see why I had some interest in this list. Let's start with the top 20. Okay, we'll do the top 20 and we'll run through them fairly quickly. But these are considered the 20 best films of the 1980s from these rich people. All right, here you go. Number 20, The Breakfast Club. I think that's a fair ranking. I think when we're talking about the best films of the 1980s, Breakfast Club Breakfast Club is in a top 5, and it's very generation specific. So 20, that's good. We're off to a good start. Number 20 is Breakfast Club. Number 19 is Risky Business. Again, I think that you would have to put Risky Business in a top 20 of any, not in the top 5, not in the top 10, but certainly somewhere thereafter. There is room for Risky Business on a list of the best. Now, Risky Business probably made the list because it was rich people, right? This rich kid. Joel was a rich kid. He grew up, that was like Highland Park. Literally, it was Highland Park, Illinois. Yeah, I think every town in America is named Highland Park is super wealthy. The one in Dallas is super wealthy. The one in Chicago is super wealthy. Michael Jordan lived in Highland Park in Chicago. And anyway, that's where Joel lived. In Risky Business. Number 19. Okay, no complaints. Number 18 is Lean On Me. All right, no complaints. Number 17 is Working Girl. Working Girl. So Working Girl is better than Lean On Me and Risky Business and The Breakfast Club. Okay, all right, whatever. I'm not going to get that petty. Working Girl is number 17 according to Town and Country's list of the best movies of the 1980s. Number 16 is When Harry Met Sally. Absolutely belongs in the top 20. Important film. Certainly proved the concept of the rom-com. After the success of When Harry Met Sally, we suddenly had a new genre, the rom-com. Now, I will argue that When Harry Met Sally, that they didn't invent the rom-com. The rom-com had been around in various forms for quite some time. Hell, I will take you all the way back to the film A Philadelphia Story, George Cukor's version, as being a rom-com, but they didn't call it that. Then when Harry Met Sally came out, it became a blockbuster monster, and people said, I need something like what Harry Met Sally was, and they dubbed it the rom-com. So 16, absolutely. It's such a good movie. When Harry Met Sally is such a good movie. I don't think I've seen it in 30 years. I wonder if it holds up. Number 15, Dead Poets Society. Okay. All right, that belongs in the top 20. Number 14, Karate Kid. 14. Karate Kid, 6 places better than Breakfast Club? Karate Kid, better than Breakfast Club? I don't think so, fam. But okay. All right. I mean, look, if you're putting Breakfast Club at 20, Karate Kid is like 22, 23, 24. All right. Wherever 16 Candles is, right between 16 Candles and the Goonies is where Karate Kid probably belongs. Let's see here. All right, number 13 on the list, and this is bullshit. This is where I saw the list and said, all right, this is just, there's not a serious list. These people are not serious. Number 13 on the list, coincidentally, happens to be Friday the 13th, the original. Is this a list of the most significant films of the 1980s, or is this a list of the best films of the 1980s? Because it's being presented as a list of the best films of the 1980s. And you've got Friday the 13th at number 13. Just coincidence, but that's clever, right? All right, Friday the 13th is number 13 on the list of the best movies of the 1980s as deemed by Town and Country. Fancy, sophisticated people. Steel Magnolias is 12. What? What? Steel Magnolias is a top 50, but really? Isn't Steel Magnolias just a rip of Steel Magnolias? Oh, no. Wait, or is it Fried Green Tomatoes? I don't know. One of these two. They're rips of each other, right? Fried Green Tomatoes and Steel Magnolias. I think Steel Magnolias might be the original one. All right, so maybe it deserves to be there at 12. I don't know. Whatever. It's a chick flick. Baby Boom? Diane Keaton in Baby Boom is number 11? All right, here we go. Let's get into the top 10 films. Now, there are a lot of movies from the 1980s that we have not mentioned. I can rattle 20 off the top of my head that are better than any of the ones we've already mentioned. So let's see how they navigate this. We already know that number 1 is Clue. This is the top 10. Number 10, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay. All right. Respect. I don't know if that's where it belongs, but I can respect any top 10 list of 80s films that includes Raiders of the Lost Ark. Absolutely. Number 9, Color Purple. Looking good. Absolutely. That was a massive film. There was no Oprah before Color Purple, and then all of a sudden Oprah was everywhere. Color Purple. Don't know if it's top 10, but okay, they got it 9 here. That's fine. Number 8 is David Bowie's Labyrinth. What? Labyrinth. David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly star alongside a cavalcade of puppets in this 1986 fantasy classic directed by the brilliant Jim Henson. Connelly plays a teenage girl who goes on a hero's journey to rescue her brother from the clutches of Bowie's dastardly, if not musically gifted, Goblin King. The movie flopped upon its release, but has become a cult classic, and a sequel has been slowly percolating for years. David Bowie's dead and Jennifer Connelly's a grandma. What do you mean a sequel has been? I think you are overranking this. Now, I have seen Labyrinth, and it's kind of a wild movie, and it might even deserve a place on the top 100. But number 8? Number 8. Okay, that sucks. So now we know something doesn't belong. Number 7, 16 Candles. I think this is an overranking. I think this is an overranking. I think that you know what? This is funny because I'm a Chicagoan and maybe I have a different sort of view of these. But when I rank John Hughes films, when I rank the John Hughes, like what are the best John Hughes, I think that Ferris Bueller's Day Off is number 1. And I think Breakfast Club is 2. I think 16 Candles is 3. I think Pretty in Pink is 4. And then I don't include Home Alone. I'm talking about the teen ones. Anyway, here we have number 7 on the list, 16 Candles. 16 Candles is an all-timer. All-timer. We felt seen. When 16 Candles came out, we felt seen. Our generation. Number 6. All right. So now here at number 6, according to Town and Country, the best movies in the 1980s, we already know that number 1 is Clue. What? Do they know about Raging Bull and Out of Africa? Do they Clue? They went with Clue. This is a choice that would have been in my top 10. This is a choice that, depending on the day, I might even make my top. I don't know. If I see this movie again, hell, and you catch me in the following 48 hours, I might say it's number 1. This is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's number 6 on this list. Purple Rain. Purple Rain. Purple Rain. I made my son watch Purple Rain. Like when he was like 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, I was cool, Dad. I was trying to make him culturally aware of music and all that. That's why my kid's a huge Prince fan. I fast forward through some stuff. He was young. There was some stuff in that movie that I fast forward through, but the performances and the songs, it was very great. Great film, Purple Rain. All right, number 6. Here we go. Let's go to the top 5. Witches of Eastwick. Are you kidding me? So now it's being revealed that this list, this Town and Country list, I believe edited or at least some major influence is female, because there was no way that the Witches of Eastwick is number 5. Remember now, we know that number 1 is Clue. So these are the top 5 films. These are the 5 best films of the 1980s as according to Town and Country, Sophisticated Interior Design or something magazine. Okay. Witches of Eastwick is 5. Number 4, Coming to America. Number 4, Coming to America is in the top 25. It's a funny movie. It's a comedy classic. Number 4, it ain't better than Ghostbusters. It ain't better than Caddyshack. It ain't better than number 4, Coming to America. Again, number 5 is The Witches of Eastwick. Number 4, best film of the 1980s, is Coming to America. Number 3 is The Princess Bride. Okay, I like The Princess Bride, and we could debate Princess Bride and try and find a spot in the top 10. But number 3, again, does this person know about Martin Scorsese's career? Number 2 is Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink. I think that Some Kind of Wonderful and Pretty in Pink are the 2 weakest John Hughes films. But there we go. Number 2. It's got to be a chick list. And number 1 is, of course, Clue. This is a terrible, terrible list. Terrible, terrible list. The best movie in the 1980s, probably just off the top of my head, would be Raging Bull. I'd be like, Raging Bull? What else? I'd have to look. I don't know. Maybe that's a segment for later in the week. Kevin says the list is just rage bait written by a millennial, but it's not rage bait. It is from a magazine that is, for your mom or like, your stylish aunt or whatever, who lives like, in a nice house on the East Coast, or it's a fancy person. Like, it's not rage bait. It wasn't clickbait. That was from the actual magazine. It's rage bait for people who still read magazines. How's that? That's probably the best way for us to say it. Yeah, it's a nonsense list. Anyway, I got very angry. Who's this? Adam says, I love Clue, but it's not even top 20 80s movie for me. Number 1, according to that list. I would love to push back on Adam, but I've never seen it. I've never seen it, so I don't know. I know that when it came out, I was like, of a movie ticket price. Hey guys, let's go to a movie on Saturday, and that movie came out, and none of us were like, you want to see that movie? So we didn't go see it. I think at the time, here's what I remember. I do remember. I hadn't remembered until I read that little blurb about it from the segment we just did. I didn't remember that it had different endings, but as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I knew there was something weird about it. So like, depending on what theater you saw it in, you may get a totally different ending as to who done it, which seemed a bit gimmicky to me. Even at like 12, 13 years old, I'm like, that's a gimmick. That is, I'm being manipulated and I don't like it. All right. Here we go. Let me show you this. Here, this all came. Actually, I was going to talk about it anyway, but here we have something. This is from Dallas. Don't know where in Dallas this is. Check this out. This is what's happening everywhere in America. Everywhere in America. I hear. All right. So here's what we got. This is a street takeover from Dallas. This is a Dallas police officer who is on the scene, theoretically there to break up the street takeover. And look at how much respect these car racers have for this police car. This is a Dallas police cruiser. He is being circled and whatever they're doing. They are certainly not pulling over and saying, sorry, officer, we'll behave better. No. Let's watch this one more time. The sound is problematic. All right, so I don't like the sound. How do I keep the damn sound down? Okay, so the policeman is arriving on the scene here. This looks like one of the nicer neighborhoods of Dallas. Police have arrived on the scene to see this. 2 cars kind of circling each other, doing whatever this is called. All right. This guy isn't stopping. Can't say he doesn't see the cop. Not only is he not stopping, but look at this. He's just going to come and he's taunting the cop. This absolute fearlessness. Now, I wanted to show this because this is obviously a bit more brazen than maybe, happens every single night on any stretch of road adjacent to maybe a larger population. I know here in Illinois, my whole life growing up, I had friends who raced and stuff, but they all went to Indiana. You just cross over into Indiana and, go down there and we're going to the track in Indiana. All right, I want to stop sharing that because I want to talk about trying to think of how to say this. Why is there what has happened? What do we not have enough police? Like, what is it that those drivers of those cars are thinking about the policeman showing up? Because in the world that I live in, when the policeman shows up, I stop doing whatever jackass thing I'm doing and start to think about how do I explain my way out of this. But I certainly don't see the cop show up and see him as someone to be that, whatever that was, to say nothing of how dangerous that was. I mean, those guys didn't really, could they clip the police car? Now suddenly they're hitting a police car. And then they don't stop. They just both drive off. Now, from jump, it's obvious one cop can't chase two people. So one of them, if they go off in different directions, is probably assured he's going to get away. But are they doing this because there is an understanding that our communities are understaffed by police? I mean, is that why there's no fear of... See, I've spent most of my life in suburbs, right? Not necessarily, that was from a part of Dallas, probably, Oak Cliff area. It looked not good, okay? But whenever there's a police situation my entire life growing up, there's never one cop who shows up. There's a cop who maybe shows up first, but I'll tell you within 15 seconds, there's another 10. But we get into our big cities where I don't know. To me, it's just I am not a defund the police. Let's reorganize the police. Let's figure out exactly why we can't seem to hire enough police to make a presence in some neighborhoods where there really needs to be more of a police presence. That Dallas police officer was being mocked, I believe, because those two guys in those cars knew there were no other cops coming. No other cops coming. They understand the budget and this and that. These street takeovers, again, they're not always as brazen as what we just saw there out of Dallas. I was going to do this story anyway. I hear them, man. I hear them from my bed at night. There is a stretch of road on the other side of this wetland preserve that I live on, and anything that goes on this road that rips right through the forest, you hear, because the noise carries across water. And then at the other side of these multiple wetland lakes is, where I live. So we can hear it at night, traveling a good 2-3 miles away. And I hear the cars racing and I hear brakes screeching and, then you hear the fire or the police cars. Always. You can count on it. There'll be 20 minutes of, crazy noise, crazy noises like that. And then within 5 to 10 minutes, and then you start to hear and then it goes away. And then 3 hours later, you hear it again. You hear the car. That's the game that's being played. And again, I'm not criticizing that activity. It's certainly outlaw activity, but kids could be doing worse things. I mean, it's dangerous for the kids involved. It's reckless behavior, but it isn't, again, anything different than your grandpa probably did back in the 1950s, racing street rods. American Graffiti came out in 1972, and it was about kids in the 1950s. So, let's not act like, these street takeovers with cars and all of that are a new thing. It's not. But what we just saw out of Dallas, that is a new thing. That is a sociological change. And that's the reason I told you the story about what I hear, because those kids hear the police cars coming and they run away. And then 3 hours later, they come back and do it again. And this goes on Friday and Saturday night, all night long. But not in Dallas, not in South Oak Cliff. They knew that there was only the one cop going, and there's two of them, and he can't get both. And all right, let's see. What else do we have? Guys, I'm sorry. My throat is, can you hear my throat now? My throat is going away. So it would be a good time for me to remind you, as I now consider having to go to Walgreens. We are in part 2 of Pledge Week, so please help the show out. If you can, drop a little something there in the Venmo or the Cash App. I would greatly appreciate it. What is happening? Can you guys hear this? Oh, this is the worst. Hold on. Okay, all right. Maybe we're back a little bit. That'll be good. All right. Barney has an opinion on Coming to America, which made the top 5. He said, or number 4. He said it's not even the 4th best Eddie Murphy movie of the 80s. No, it's not. That is an incredibly astute observation by Barney that I just completely glossed over. Coming to America is like the worst of the Eddie Murphy funny movies. Number 1 is 48 Hours. I'm sorry, it's When We First Met. Eddie Murphy. Number 2 is Trading Places. Number 3 is Beverly Hills Cop 1. Number 4 is Delirious. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna include his stand-up special. Coming to America, honestly, it's like my least favorite Eddie Murphy movie from that era. Trading Places is so funny. I think 48 Hours is the best because we didn't know. I mean, I was a Saturday Night Live kid, so I knew that he was from Saturday Night Live. But then to see like everybody else, like all my friends go, that Eddie Murphy's funny. And then I knew all about him. I'm like, yeah, he does Gumby. Gumby's hysterical. Huh? How do you know who he is? Because I'm 12 and I watch Saturday Night Live. Okay, let's see. What else do we want to get to before my voice there it goes again, before my voice completely goes away. Okay, yeah, I wanted to mention this. Over the weekend, we lost another one. Now, we're not going to do a full death trilogy because I believe this man starts a new trilogy, but Bobby Cox died. Who's Bobby Cox? Well, if you're a baseball Johnny like me, you know damn well who Bobby Cox is. I'll tell you who Bobby Cox is. Bobby Cox is the last of the rock star baseball managers. Bobby Cox was the manager of the Atlanta Braves at a time when the Atlanta Braves, let me set the stage for you, okay? So the Atlanta Braves were a forgotten team. The Atlanta Braves had just moved from Milwaukee. You know, they were kind of popular down in Atlanta, but they were a regional team. Major League Baseball, back when they had a thing called Monday Night Baseball. Yeah, just like Monday Night Football. ABC and Howard Cosell, they did Monday Night Baseball. So you'd watch Monday Night Baseball. You'd never see Atlanta on there. Nobody cared about the Atlanta Braves. You'd see the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs and, you know. So the Atlanta Braves were a forgotten team. Kind of think Tampa Rays, although Tampa's good. Kind of think Colorado Rockies of the modern era. That's who the Braves were. And then Ted Turner came along, and Ted Turner bought the Braves and put them on his superstation. And all of a sudden, the big teams nationwide weren't just the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Cubs. There was suddenly this new team. This new team was the Atlanta Braves. They were on every cable system in America. My entire life growing up, every single day of the week, I could come home from school and I could watch a baseball game, either a Cubs game on WGN, the superstation, a Mets game on WOR, which was the superstation, or the Atlanta Braves, which was on TBS, the superstation. So the Atlanta Braves went very quickly once they were placed on the Superstation, from a team that nobody gave a shit about and most still thought was in Milwaukee to a team that was now being called America's team. And they were right. They were right. That TBS Superstation thing made superstars of all of those players, and not the least of which was their manager, the crusty old ball man, Bobby Cox. There used to be a time in Major League Baseball before the bloom kind of fell off the rose, which is the era that I think we're in now. They're trying to fix it. They're doing things to make the game better. But there was a time when baseball was the undisputed king of American sports. Now it's football. Now it's NFL football. And look at what we have in NFL football. We have the rock star head coach. We have the head coach that everybody covets. He's in magazines for his home life. He is the crossover rock star. We're talking about Bill Belichick, Sean McVay out there in LA. The rock star. Ben Johnson is a bit of a rock star head coach. We have that in the NFL. We don't have that in baseball anymore. Don't tell me about AJ Hinch. Don't tell me. We don't have the same thing in baseball that we now have in football. Well, I don't know that we had it in football back then because football wasn't as popular. We had some big personalities who were head coaches, but I mean, Bobby Cox, when I was growing up, here's what I mean by rock star managers. Billy Martin, Tommy Lasorda, Bobby Cox, Whitey Herzog, Earl Weaver. These guys were baseball managers who never managed in my hometown, but I knew who they were because they were on with Johnny Carson, because This Week in Baseball, they had to be bleeped out because they were swearing at an umpire and they were kicking dirt on referees. That's gone away. And I don't know how many more of those guys are left. Lasorda's dead. Earl Weaver's dead. Billy Martin's dead. Bobby Cox was kind of the last. He was kind of the last of those great rock star managers from the era where America's pastime truly was Major League Baseball. Tony La Russa, maybe Tony La Russa is the last one. He's still alive. But anyway, Bobby Cox, manager of the Atlanta Braves for years and years, won a World Series with them in 95, was relevant throughout the 1980s and into the 90s, managed one of the greatest pitching staff, 5-man rotation that I have ever seen, the greatest in my lifetime. He was a true rock star, and the world lost Bobby Cox. Now, what's so crazy about this is Bobby Cox died 3 days after his boss, Ted Turner. Ted Turner was Bobby's boss. And now, no, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to room together because didn't we close out a death trilogy with Ted Turner? I think Bobby starts a new one. I don't know. I'll have to relook at it because they liked each other. They liked each other. That's why Bobby Cox ain't Billy Martin, right? Billy Martin and George Steinbrenner. Jerry Stein. That's because of Seinfeld. George Steinbrenner, owner of the Yankees, famously fired and then rehired Billy Martin like 4 times. I'm hiring Billy Martin because he's the best manager in baseball. And then like a year later, I'm firing Billy Martin. He's garbage. And then a year later, I'm rehiring Billy Martin. I was wrong. I mean, that wasn't Bobby Cox and Ted Turner. Ted Turner just basically said, go ahead. I don't know nothing about baseball. Ted Turner knew nothing about baseball. Never played it. Never watched it. He was a yachtsman. But when he bought the Atlanta Braves, he's like, all right, just give me a weekend. And he took an entire weekend and learned everything about baseball. And then suddenly was Mr. Baseball question guy. And that's how him and Bobby Cox became friendly. Anyway, Bobby Cox, the last of the great rock star baseball managers, died over the weekend. 87 years old, I think. Interestingly enough, died just a couple of days after his manager. All right, now to that theme, we're doing a series here, which I call Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. Well, let me show you this edition of Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark, because this ain't fun. And it is absolutely, well, it's gonna require some explanation. One. All right. Before I share this, I got something I have to say. All right, so this week, around these parts in Chicago, this week, on Friday begins Cubs at White Sox. All right. Now, Chicago Cubs are playing the Chicago White Sox. It's a part of what we call the Crosstown Series or the Crosstown Classic. At the end of the summer, I believe that the White Sox will then go play at Wrigley for a weekend. But we get them first. So they're coming here on the south side. Cubs are the best team in baseball, although they lost 2 in a row, which, pretty good. The White Sox are a scrappy little team at the tail end of a rebuild. So this is going to be a very heated, a very passionate game. Neither of these teams suck. Okay. The Cubs are built to win a World Series this year. And the White Sox are a rebuilding team that seems to be gelling really good because there's a lot of passion. And, the White Sox have 3 guys, Murakami, Mooney, Colston Montgomery, and Vargas, our third baseman. These 3 guys have more home runs than 12 other teams in Major League Baseball combined. There are 12 entire teams that don't have it. So we're playing fun baseball on the south side. But a big test is coming this weekend, the Cubs. We're all very aware of it. That's why I'm saying things like, well, the Cubs are the best team in baseball. See, as a White Sox fan who hates the Chicago Cubs, I don't hate Cubs. How do I feel? I don't know. It's very complicated. Anyway, me as a White Sox fan sitting here saying that the Cubs are the best team in baseball and that they're probably going to win the World Series is, a bit insidious of me, because what I'm doing is I'm setting up an impossible goal. So now I'm basically saying the bar for the Cubs this year for Cub fans is anything less than a world title is you're losers. So let's go with that. Cubs are the best team in baseball. There is no doubt in my mind that they should absolutely win the World Series. And if they don't, failed season. So those are the expectations that I'm putting up there. So again, this coming weekend, the Chicago Cubs come a couple of blocks south and play on the south side against the White Sox for a 3-game homestand over the weekend. It is a big party. It is fun. It is, I always compare it to Texas OU weekend, right? Except we get it for 3 days in a row, twice a summer, just in different parts of the town. Now, this weekend, for some reason, we had a whole bunch of Cub fans show up at White Sox Park. Maybe they just couldn't get enough good baseball, so they decided to come down to our part of town and watch some baseball. So these are some Cub fans who showed up at a White Sox game. Now, earlier last week, I told you that it's not like Cowboy fans and Eagle fans, okay? Chicago White Sox fans and Chicago Cub fans, they marry each other. They live together. Your brother might be a fan of one team and your sister's a fan of another. And, it's normal. It's a thing called house divided. It's a very common thing here in Chicago. Okay. So we don't hate each other. And when we go to each other's parks, we're respectful because, again, this freaking park is in our city too. This is a part of our thing too. This may not be our team's park, but there's nothing wrong with a Chicago White Sox fan going, yeah, Wrigley Field in that neighborhood is an incredible thing for Chicago. We can say that because it's true. We get along and we sit there, and all weekend long, we are going to be treated with, when they come back from commercial break and they show the crowd shots, we will be treated with a woman in a Cubs jersey seated next to her husband in a Sox jersey. And then we'll see pictures of, little kids playing, and half the kids will have Cubs jerseys and half the kids will have Sox jerseys. That's what we'll be treated to. Because I got to tell you, folks, I've lived this now for over 50 years. That's the reality. We don't throw hands. We're not the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. They live in 2 completely, separate cities. We all have to go to work on Monday morning with each other. So we typically behave ourselves. But here we go. This is the latest edition of Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. I told you, here we have some Cub fans. This is a White Sox game. This is the outfield here at Rate. Now you see, obviously we got a Zambrano guy. This guy's trouble. Zambrano was trouble. So, anybody that would sort of, idolize Carlos Zambrano, he's trouble from the beginning. All right, here we go. This guy, typical Southside looking guy, matching black hoodie with the black White Sox jersey and the black hat. So this is anyway a couple of Cub fans who seem to have infiltrated the outfield here. Can I also draw? Look at how beautiful the sky is. Can you see the sky here? It was probably a gorgeous evening. All right, let's watch. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. These are some Cub fans who showed up at a White Sox game and decided to be assholes. Hold on, we've got way too much noise on this. Way too much noise. All right. And again, I want to point out, this is not normal. This is not now. There have been fights at Bears games with, Bears and Packers fans. Again, that is not as heated a rivalry as far as throwing fists as like the Cowboys and the Eagles. Packers and Bears fans talk shit to each other. But again, there's a lot of house divided there too, because a lot of people from Wisconsin live here in the Chicago area and vice versa. So, but we've seen those fights. We've seen fights among Bears fans and Packers fans. We rarely see this. We rarely see fights between White Sox fans and Cubs fans, but here we are over the weekend. Okay. Can I just point out one guy, though, in this scenario? See the guy here wearing number 45? If you guys watch The Bear, this is a typical Cousin Richie, all right? The character of Cousin Richie was basically, built upon this guy, a very real animal on the South Side. From the bad haircut to the jersey of some player who hasn't been on the team in 6 years. Anyway, what's going on? Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. I hate the Cub fans' haircut. Can I just go on record with that? I mean, look, I'm not loving Cousin Richie's, bowl haircut that his dad probably did because they can't afford the $20 for a regular haircut because they're working class Southsiders in Bridgeport. This guy wearing the Cubs hat, he's got like a haircut that his mom probably spent $400 on. Look at this. He's got like a weird flock of seagulls thing going on. That's right, Cub fan. Get yelled at by a big fat Southside black lady. Come on. Come into our world. This is what you get. It's like a bus driver. This woman every day, she yells at people. She's a CTA bus driver, and now you're jacking shit up for her on her weekend. You better look out. Mama's pissed. All right, there you have it. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. By the way, the backstory, the context for that is absolutely. The Cub fans started it. They got really drunk and they started talking shit, and somebody touched somebody, and then that began. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. That is not what works. You know what's so crazy? I don't know. Maybe that is what worked. Maybe that is what we're expecting this weekend for Cubs White Sox weekend 2026. It's never been the thing before. It's always been very celebratory, very booze oriented, and you would think that the fights would break out. But I've seen, you're just as likely to have fights break out, Sox fans to Sox fans, Cubs fans to Cubs fans, than you will Cub fans to Sox fans. At least that's how it's been in the past. But I hope that that's not a bad omen for what we're going into this weekend. I mean, maybe just the whole vibe of society in general is off. So darkness is maybe overwhelming what used to be sort of optimism and sort of a friendly, sarcastic teasing of your neighbor. I don't know. Guys, thank you so much. What is it? It's not even how long has that been up? Kevin says, where was Top Gun? Well, you know what? Okay, so here's what I want. I'm going to sign off here. I thought I had more time than I do. I don't have more time. I skipped over a whole bunch of those movies. So if you want to shout out a couple of movies from the 80s and wondering where Town and Country ranked them in their list of the best films from the 1980s, do that now. Do that now in the chat room. Because, yeah, Top Gun. I'm going to go look up Top Gun right now. Oops, sorry. Good question. Where according to this list did Top Gun come in? All right, we've gone through the top 10. We know that Clue was 1, Pretty in Pink was 2, Princess Bride was 3, Coming to America was 4, Witches of Eastwick is 5, Purple Rain is 6, 16 Candles was 7, Labyrinth was 8th, Color Purple was 9th, and Raiders of the Lost Ark was 10th. Let's see. Top Gun. Friday the 13th was 13. Karate Kid was 14. 15 was Dead Poets Society. 16 was When Harry Met Sally. Working Girl. Lean on Me at 18. Risky Business at 19. And Breakfast Club at 20. All right. So these are going to be new, right? All right. Number 21 is A Room with a View. So the 21st best movie is a remake of a movie from the 1960s. Okay, well, it's got Judi Dench and Maggie Smith, so there you go. E.T. Oh my God, we forgot about E.T. E.T. is 22. E.T. We still haven't seen Raging Bull. You realize we still haven't seen Raging Bull? Martin Scorsese's masterpiece? We still haven't seen Raging Bull. We're at 22 now, and they're just getting around to E.T. because they had to put Clue at number 1. All right, let's keep going. The Untouchables is 23. Caddyshack is 24. There you go. Raging Bull, number 25. Robert De Niro won his second Academy Award for his role in Raging Bull, the story of champion boxer Jake LaMotta and his violent tendencies in and out of the ring. When did Full Metal Jacket come out? Have we seen that yet? Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee, 26. Mystic Pizza is 27. Mystic Pizza is 27. St. Elmo's Fire is 28. The Outsiders are 29, and Glory is number 30. All right, we're going to keep going through. Well, I guess it was 1980. The Shining, the greatest horror film ever made by one of the greatest film directors to ever walk this earth, Stanley Kubrick. From source material as unquestioned as Shakespeare and Hemingway, Stephen King's The Shining. Number 31. Number 31. Clue. Clue was better than The Shining in the eyes of these people. The Shining. The Shining's top 5 best movies of the 80s. If I had to make a list, maybe I got to make a list. Maybe I got to bring my list tomorrow. You do the same. We'll compare lists. 32, Terms of Endearment. Okay, there we go. There we go. I was confused. Remember when I was talking about Steel Magnolias? And I said, what, Steel Magnolias? Because Steel Magnolias is like in the top 14. And I said, one of these is just a ripoff of something. This is what it is. Terms of Endearment is the real movie. And then they were like, that's a successful combination of storylines. Let's try and replicate that. And they made that Steel Magnolias. And Steel Magnolias is ranked higher than Terms of Endearment. I say no, sir. Don't even get me started on Fried Green Tomatoes, which is also in that whole bouillabaisse. All right. Of movies that your mom and your aunt like to watch together. 33, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. 33, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And here we go. We get to the Walter Payton of numbers, Top Gun. Top Gun, Kevin, comes in at number 34. Rambo, Rocky, E.T. Thank you, Maddie. Good one. We got to E.T. Empire Strikes Back. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen Return of the Jedi. We haven't seen Rocky, probably because that was from the 70s. All right, let's keep going. We're at 34. We started at 54. Let's go. 34, Top Gun. 35. This is a top 15 film. This is this took the teen high school movie genre and told the whole world, hey, you can do cool things with it. You can do different things. It doesn't all have to be John Hughes, which I loved. Number 35, Heathers. Heathers is a top 5 teen film from the 1980s, except this one's about suicide. It's really good. 35 Heathers. Here's what it says about Heathers. Heathers was one of my favorite. Veronica, Winona Ryder as Veronica and Christian Slater. Here's what it says about Heathers, if you've never seen it. Teen angst gets a body count in this 1989 cult classic about a high school outcast who finds her way into her school's most popular clique with deadly results. The movie made Winona Ryder and Christian Slater Gen X icons and is, much to the dismay of parents everywhere, deliciously, obscenely quotable. And yet I can't come up with one quote from it. I don't know. Anyway, good movie. Wow. 35 and 36. 35 and 36. 35 is Heathers. 36 is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, for me, you could flip them, you could not flip them, you could whatever. I mean, I think they both hold the same rare air in my mind when it comes to the best teen films of the 1980s. But according to Town and Country, 35 and 36. This is where Ferris Bueller at 36 and Heathers at 35 rank. How about this one, 37? You want to talk about a transcendent comedy? Airplane. When Airplane came out, man, I didn't know that comedy could be that. This was a completely different kind of comedy, right? I had been sort of raised up until, when did this come out? 1980 or something. So I was like 11 years old. I had until that point been raised on like Tonight Show comedy, Saturday Night Live insurgent sketch comedy, the odd George Carlin or Richard Pryor, stand-up routine that I heard. That's the kind of comedy that I thought was how comedy was supposed to be. And then Airplane came out. Airplane came out and just floored my little 10, 11-year-old ass. It was just one punchline after another. Everything was meant to be funny and absurd and obscene, and it was marvelous. Airplane, number 37. Important movie. More important than 37, I think. Number 38, Back to the Future. Yeah, like that movie didn't exist. We still haven't even mentioned Ghostbusters because apparently they had to make room for Clue and Labyrinth and whatever else. 39 is Say Anything. Maybe 39 is a good place for Say Anything. Maybe, the top 50, I would say, of 80s movies. That seems fair. Say Anything, good movie. Number 40, Beetlejuice. But Beetlejuice over, I was going to say Beetlejuice over Ghostbusters. Yeah. Beetlejuice over number 41, Trading Places. No way. Trading Places is a top 20 comedy of the 1980s. Trading Places. How dare you put it at 41? Number 42 is Out of Africa. I mentioned that. That's like considered one of the most perfect films, blah, 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 of all time. Robert Redford, Meryl Streep, Sidney Pollack directed, Oscar-winning, based on a true story, Out of Africa. 42. It's 42. Clue is better. Clue is much better. Do you remember the Seinfeld episode? The Out of Africa Seinfeld episode? Elaine went to go see Out of Africa, and she fell asleep during it. And that was like a great crime because in Elaine's sophisticated New York circle of friends, it's just the greatest film. And she had to pretend like she didn't fall asleep. Anyway, and then she had to talk about Out of Africa, and it was obvious that she had fallen asleep. Anyway, that's why I always think about that. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels at number 43. Very funny movie. Michael Caine, Steve Martin, right? Very funny movie. Number 43 here on Town and Country's list of the best movies of the 1980s. Number 44, I should say. Number 44. 43 better films than this one in the 1980s. 43 better films than this one, one of which was Clue, which isn't a Clue, is 43 spots better than Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters gets a mention at number 44. This one probably. Yes, it does. Okay, Dirty Dancing at 45. I was going to say, is Dirty Dancing a top 50 film of the 1980s? And I guess it is. It is. I have a personal, I hate it. Here's the problem with Dirty Dancing. In my neighborhood growing up, there was the fancy full price movie theater where when a new big movie opened on a Friday, you could go to and you could pay full price. And then there was the other movie theater called Bremen. We would go to Bremen, and Bremen was $1. And it was movies that were kind of sort of recently in the theaters, but they weren't the like ones. There were only 3 working theaters at Bremen. And for an entire summer, Dirty Dancing occupied one of the $1 theaters. And I hated Dirty Dancing because I wanted something else to take. I want to see a new movie. And I believe another summer, Purple Rain occupied one of the theaters, one of the $1 theaters for like the entire summer. And that was cool though, because I saw Purple Rain like 10 times. That was always cool. But I was not going to see Dirty Dancing 10 times. All right, time to move on, Dirty Dancing. So maybe I had sort of a personal bias against it. Anyway, it comes in here, number 45, best film of the 1980s, according to Town and Country, Dirty Dancing. 46, Footloose. Whatever. 47, Big Business, Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin. Are you kidding me? Number 48. Jesus, you got to be kidding me here. Big Business, number 48. Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler, Big Business. That's number 47. That's a better film than Stand By Me. Stand By Me is 48 on this list. Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin is 47. You know, we watched both back to back, and we decided that the Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin comedy, Big Business, was just a bit better than Rob Reiner's masterpiece, timeless masterpiece, Stand By Me. Okay. All right, whatever, you idiots. Number 49, Poltergeist. Yeah, whatever. That's an all right movie. Number 50, Dangerous Liaisons. I don't know, never saw it. Number 51, Ruthless People. It's all right. Yeah, 51 is a good place for Ruthless People. I don't think there's a place for it in the top 50. Number 52, and we've already been here, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 53 is The Money Pit, Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. And 54, Desperately Seeking Susan. There you go. We went through all of those movies. I'm sure there's a whole shit ton of them that are missed. Yeah, Splash isn't missed. Fish Called Wanda isn't there. Yeah, Splash. Where was Splash? Crazy. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. We'll come back and we'll do more of this tomorrow. Here's what I want you to do, though. I want you to dig deep. I want you to get us across that finish line. It is a pledge week. We do need your help. So please, if you can, support the show with a drop in the Cash App or in the Venmo. Sure would be appreciated. We've got this whole week to try and shake this can to its brim. I know you guys hate. I hate saying it. You guys hate hearing it. I love you. It's my kid's birthday. I got to go deal with that. I got to go have remember I told you the conversation is going to be like this. You're 17 now. You're a grown man. You're going to start to realize that in the world, life has its disappointments. And that is why you will not be receiving anything today from any of your family over here. Because Dad screwed up. But you're coming here soon, and, so we'll figure it out. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow, okay? Yep, that's it. Bye.